Literally epic. Okay, I
All
guess we
right.
can begin.
I love watching the
Okay.
comments go to like debate. Uh-oh. Oh no.
Uh-oh. All right.
Shaking in our boots.
I'm shaking. Okay.
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody, welcome to the debate between
Dab.
the Right Honorable Gentleman Ben Saint
Yeah.
and the Right Honorable Gentleman Digibro. I am your moderator, Give and Take. I will be doing mostly nothing because I don't know how to moderate. I'd like to start this with an opening statement from each of you, introducing yourselves and what you think this debate is about. So I'm going to
Okay.
start with Ben, and then we're going to do Digi, and then you're going to have at it.
I am patreon.com/Ben Saint, and I believe. What do I think it's about? I think it's about, can you be genuinely politically neutral? I say no, and I say that by um when you say that you are tacitly falling into the trap of the right. That's what I think.
All right, Digi?
Okay. What I think this debate is about is not that, but whether or not you can be political without being left or right.
Okay, so the first thing to reconcile is the debate itself and what it's about. So go
Right.
nuts, I guess.
Well, I mean, Ben's original statement was that to not be left or right, or to not believe in it being just left versus right, is to tacitly be on the right. Is that correct?
Uh yeah, in many ways I think that is true.
Because my thought is just simply that you that's not the case. That like to be something other than left or right does not automatically support the right.
Um I guess I should probably try and I'm making the positive statement here, so I should try and justify it. When you Oh god. I should have thought of an opening statement. Um to Okay, well, you can't I don't think you can be apolitical, right? So when you
No,
say,
I agree.
yeah.
I don't think you can be apolitical.
I mean, okay, not every issue, maybe not every issue falls along left, I'm going to send you notifications, left versus right lines, but I mean, a lot of them do, and to like deny that, or to say that oh well, you know, I'm not left or right, I just you know, I'm kind of in the middle, I hear both sides, like, yeah, I get it, I get why you would want to hear both sides, but you
Can I move this debate to a weird question
yeah,
just because I
sure.
think it'll help? What do you think about anarchy?
Anarchy is okay. So you said this on Twitter, that
Yeah.
anarchy was neither left nor right. I think anarchy is like ultimately left.
Why do you think that?
I should lower the volume on these notifications. Because anarchy is about not having a hierarchy. It's about flattening hierarchies, and leftism, that is like part and parcel of the political or the ideological left, is the destruction of hierarchy and the flattening out of society.
Is that inherently a non-right
Yeah.
belief though? Like
Yeah.
what do you consider to be far right? Like what is the
Far
most
right?
right you can be?
Um
Yeah.
Hold on. I am going to can I
Cuz like I guess I'll just talk while you work
yeah,
on that.
I'm trying to mute.
Like
I'm trying to
what
mute
bothers me
these.
about this left right
I
thing,
can't
the
do
way
it.
people have been talking about it, is that even on those incredibly simplistic political tests that you take, there are in fact two axes that the politics happen on. There's the left versus right, and then there's up versus down, authoritarian versus libertarian. And I think that to be in a position where your beliefs put you at a far flung libertarian um, beliefs, but like in the middle of left and right on one of those graphs. The reason that happens is that there is a lot of like social shit tied up in what is considered left and right, particularly in
There
American politics.
you're not wrong about that.
So like
Thanks for the
it's
sub,
it's
Roque.
it's very odd to me to position it as left versus right when, like, if we're only talking about like the economy, then there's a left versus right
Yeah,
dichotomy in like the ideologies of how to run the
I
economy.
I
But there's way
yeah.
more to it than the economy.
I agree that there you can be left versus right on there you can be left or right on multiple different axes, and you could theoretically be left on one and right on another. That's true.
Right, and that what happens when you are that is it if you take one of those political tests, it puts you in the center, and people will call you a centrist. And it's like, well, I'm not a centrist. I have
Yeah.
beliefs that fall onto one side or the
No,
other
you
in
wouldn't.
every
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
They just happen to, come from both camps. And
Um.
if I were to describe how I overall am, I wouldn't say I'm a leftist or a right winger. I'm a libertarian. I'm an anarchist. I don't want government at all, you know? So,
Mhm.
like, to say that that position is helpful to the right, I don't understand how that's the
That's
case.
super fucking helpful. Libertarians are just closeted conservatives. I don't.
Why
That
do you
might be
say so?
overstating.
I
Well,
mean, that's
yeah.
certainly if you're talking about
I
the
mean,
Libertarian Party.
Republicans and conservationists, conservatives want small government. They want deregulation. They want privatization.
I think that the Republican Party wants that. I don't think that is necessarily the same thing. Like when we talk about left and right, like in American politics, we break everything up into these two big parties, and it's kind of like, oh, if you want more things that one party says, then you should go over to their side. But like from my perspective, it's like as a libertarian,
I mean,
uh,
I don't want to sit here and defend the American parties. They're awful, and
yeah,
the Democrats are a nightmare of neoliberal
yeah.
centrism
Well,
and
and that's the thing.
compromise.
Like the same way you feel about the Democratic Party is how I feel about the Libertarian Party or the Conservative or Republican Party. It's like I don't side with any of these guys. I just have an ideology that is described as libertarian if you take a quiz,
I
but it
think
doesn't mean I'm like in their party.
one of the parties is closer to being acceptable.
Mm.
uh,
I think that's a fair argument to make, but everybody can make it depending on what they consider to be acceptable. Like I think you have a tendency to look at the economy as the most important thing,
I
or
would
like,
probably
social
say that
welfare.
yeah, that's my main thing.
Right. And I care a
If
lot
I were
about
to
the
pick
economy
like one
too.
thing to champion and be on the left about, it would probably be that.
Right. But like you have to consider the ideals of somebody who maybe is like, this is not me and I'm not defending this position necessarily, but like what if somebody like had strong like leftist leanings but was extremely anti-abortion? It's like
Yeah.
where do you categorize that person? Which is kind of
I
what
mean, well, you'd
I think
still
Ron
be
Paul was that guy
yeah.
actually.
Okay. I mean, I understand the like the sort of
I could be wrong about
the
that. I
sort of
don't know my
heap the sort
political
of the heap
history.
argument you're making. It's like, oh well, how many grains of sand until it becomes a heap? Like, I understand that you could be a like Vosh, right? Like Vosh is a super leftist, but he's like very like pro gun rights, and but he justifies that from a pretty leftist ideological perspective, where he doesn't believe in authoritarianism and he thinks the people's right to bear arms is like the best defense against that. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, my contention, and I did say this on Twitter, is that um, left and right are not arbitrary. I mean, maybe sometimes they are, but in general, you can define the difference between them as arising out of different core beliefs. And so I think that you might disagree on the specifics, but I really think that most people who have strong political opinions would, just by virtue of believing the things they believe just about like humanity and ethics and stuff, like are naturally going to fall on one or the other side, because I think the core beliefs of these two ideologies are just like fundamentally opposed to one another.
I think that I really don't think so because I think that so much. Okay, like for instance, the reason a lot of libertarian people did vote for Donald Trump was
Mm-hmm.
because they saw him as taking the God shit out of the Republican Party. That's something Dick Masterson has said. Like, he's not
I mean,
running on like a fundamentalist.
evangelicals love Trump, but I mean,
It's true, but that's 'cause they're stupid.
he himself is a terrible
You always got to remember that
non-Christian,
religious people are
pseudo-Christian.
stupid, so they're gonna not think about
sure.
what they're voting. They're just voting Republican because they think it's the Christian party. Like Donald Trump didn't repeal abortion.
Well, they think it's the Christian party and
gay marriage.
They have the same values, right? Like social conservatism values all the things. I mean, like traditional religion is like fundamentally socially conservative, so yeah, they vote for the socially conservative.
Is it like, why is religion not a socialist thing? Like, wasn't historically?
Well, I mean, Jesus was a socialist, but the church is not.
I mean,
the
is
church
that because of
money.
Does that have anything to do with their religious beliefs though, or is that just the structure of the church?
Man. This is sort of off topic, but do you know Renegade Cut? Renegade Cut does videos on YouTube, and he is very knowledgeable about religious issues in particular because he is a former Catholic, and he has a bunch of videos talking about like Trump and the evangelical right, premillennial dispensationalism and like American belief in the rapture ideology and stuff like that. Super good, super great. And I don't know. Nothing really about like the text of Christianity is like socially conservative, but culturally, it is.
Well, that's the thing. That's what these parties come down. Like the Republican Democrat Party, it has, in my mind, very little to do with actual political ideology and everything to do with just social construct of just like people who believe this set of things will fall into this party because it's like relatively closer, or even just they think it's relatively closer, not even necessarily that it is. Like the vast majority of Americans have no fucking idea what they're voting for. They have no fucking idea. They're not paying attention to politics or what these people actually believe. They're just voting on party lines that they've been fucking, determined to vote on since childhood, probably because their parents did or didn't. It's either rebellion or going with them. So like when I look at these parties, I just see it as this gigantic mishmash of a bunch of random bullshit that has nothing to do with each other. There's no correlation naturally between socialism and a woman's right to choose, but those things end up on the same party side.
Well, I would say that believing in like reproductive rights and wanting a strong welfare state are both rooted in like a humanitarian ethos and a belief in the flattening of hierarchies. That's what I mean when I say that they are founded in core ideological beliefs that are opposed to one another.
I mean, the thing is, because there's a lot of different ways you can look at something like the pro-life, pro-choice argument, like taking out the religious side, like and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I'm pro-choice, but like how do we define what is or isn't something that's alive? And here in America, everything has the basic right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Are you taking life away from a thing if you get an abortion? We've decided, we've like drawn a line where we think, okay, this is when it's been in you too long, and you now have to give birth or whatever. And if you look at like statistically, we can argue about like, oh, well, abortions, okay. Ultimately, I'm pro-abortion because I think it helps the general welfare. It helps the greater good. More people benefit from it than if we didn't have it. But does that mean that it's like even constitutional is a debate that could be had? And I really don't think it's a right or left debate. It's just is this supported by our system debate,
I mean, are you saying that it is a debate strictly about like what does the Constitution allow?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could have that debate, and that would be really boring. I mean, a better debate is like, well, what should the law be? Like, what is right?
Well, and I think that's the one that we have, and that's why we've allowed it. Like, we've ultimately decided.
I mean, we've changed the Constitution before.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that this is not a right versus left argument. It's not about whether the power structure's involved or whatever. It's like, is this constitutional or not? If it is, or if it's not, like, should it be? And if so, why? And you could be on either, you could be a Republican or a Democrat and believe that it's beneficial to society to have abortion. But like, and plenty of Republicans do, plenty of Republicans think that that
I'm
abortion is
sorry. I
good.
got really distracted because I think my roommate just dropped her air conditioner out of the second story window, and
It
it
sounded
exploded.
like something.
I think it just exploded on the driveway, and I'm very shook. So could you could you start that point over again?
I was just saying that like there's plenty of Republicans who are pro-abortion, and
Yeah.
it's like it becomes, if you are anti-abortion, you're going to vote Republican because more Republicans feel that way. But it's not, it's too what are the types of circle, a Venn diagram,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I think that we vote on Venn diagrams in this country. It's always like, well, how many of my, like, we organize all the beliefs we care about and put them in a structure of how much we care about them, and then we say, okay, which party represents more of the beliefs that I care about more, not which party actually represents all of my beliefs. And if we had a an alternative vote system, it would be dead simple for you to vote that way. Make your number two the guy who is in the bigger party, But like this idea that everything has to be right versus left. It's like, well, it should be everything
It's
is
not
party versus party,
I mean, I feel like you're saying that I'm like making everything left versus. I don't think I'm making anything that way. It just is. Like it just comes. I mean, I've said it before. It just comes down to a difference in ideology, and that doesn't. You can't restructuring the party system in America would not change that. Like we'd still have.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
a question. How far on the left would I have to be to not be supporting the right?
Ooh. I mean, to not support them at all, pretty fucking far. Like.
Do you think that you are left enough to not be supporting the right at all?
No, because there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and I must consume to live. So I am support. I mean, I literally make money for Amazon. I've made money for Amazon on this stream right now. It's sad. It's sad but true.
So would you say the accusation you threw on Twitter was aimed at yourself as well?
Yeah. I mean, no, because the point is that you need to be aware. The point is that you need to be aware of what the consequences of your beliefs and the actions that arise out of your beliefs are, and you need to consciously choose to do the thing that is good and not bad. So if you say, all right, listen, last election, I decided to be a shitlord, and I was like, I don't like the Democrats or the Republicans. I still don't, but it doesn't matter. I went and I voted third party, and it was irresponsible and bad. And I don't know if it made the difference, but like that kind of thing is the thing that leads to a worse.
I mean, I can tell you if it made the difference. What color was your state in the end?
Blue. So
it didn't make a difference.
It didn't make a difference, but that's the kind of action that leads to negative outcomes that
you say that, but if Hillary had won, would that have been a positive outcome?
Yes, compared to Trump, yeah, I think so. Like it's bad, but it's less.
I mean, we can't even speculate about what a Hillary presidency would have been. It could have easily been just as bad.
I don't want to stick my neck too far out for Hillary. I don't think it would have been as bad, but whatever.
I think, like, I don't care about Hillary or Trump. I think they're both shit.
They are both shit. But Trump is really scary. I don't know. I don't want to make this a Trump debate, but like, Trump's existence is existentially terrifying.
Like, okay, it would
and
be
Hillary's
one thing,
is too, but like in a different way.
If I thought that if you vote for Trump, you are moving the entire country in the direction of being more conservative,
which is what happened.
It's not, though.
You don't think so?
It's not what happened. No. And I think that there's a huge chance. I mean, maybe not in this election, but in the next election, it'll probably swing back. It usually does. American politics has always been a pendulum
I'm hoping
between
for it.
Democrat and Republican.
I don't know. We've got, I mean, I feel like inertia might just keep Trump in there.
Has there, like,
whatever.
ever been two of the same party in a row?
Two of this. Oh,
like two presidents in a row who were.
Yeah, like we've had
was Bush
people...
right after Reagan? Was Bush Senior right after Reagan?
Oh God, I feel embarrassed that I don't. I think he was, and like yeah, there's been like vice presidents, like people's vice presidents have immediately followed the person they served under as president.
I think that's the case with Bush and Reagan, right? Wasn't he?
Oh God, I should know that,
too, but don't feel bad because I'm asking you. I don't actually know.
Probably. Fuck. Okay.
If only our moderator was both still here and American.
Wait, did he leave?
Yeah, he took off.
Why did he leave?
He said, I gotta eat dinner. I expect this will go pretty smoothly. I don't really care. Or I'm not required anyway.
Fuck that guy. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I agree that the pendulum swings, right? The pendulum swings, but I would contend that while the pendulum does swing, no, it's a bad metaphor, because I think that the overall swinging motion over the last several decades, maybe century, has moved to the right. Like under
yeah, I don't. I don't think
Democrats
that's unfair.
Clinton and the Clintons, not Hillary, Bill Clinton is a Democrat. They're supposed to be the what's the opposite of conservative? They're supposed to be liberal. They're supposed to be progressive. Bill Clinton ran on a platform of like gutting the welfare system, which is like a super huge like conservative. Like conservatives love that shit. That's what they want to do. That's what they're all about. And he's like, well, maybe I'm still a Democrat. I can still be a Democrat. I'm not a conservative, but I'll do this, and that'll please them.
I think that there is way more like popularity to like out and out socialism now than there has been in America.
Well, yeah, there is, which is great, because like and it is a reaction to thanks for the sub, Julian. It is a reaction to well, it's a reaction to a lot of things, like politics, Trump, the alt-right, and also like social issues like that, and also maybe economic issues like wage stagnation, right? Like all the problems of late capitalism have led to people to be like, should we consider alternatives? Climate disaster,
right.
And things like that.
And that's another. That climate thing is another thing that's like, it's weird for this to be a left-right issue. Like climate change should be an everybody issue. Why would this be left or right?
It should be, but it isn't.
And that's why like I don't want to say things like, oh, if you're not on the right, you're on the left, and like
if your stance on let's take climate change as an example. If you're talking about climate change and your position is, I'm not sure, maybe we should hear both sides, like maybe like then you're the problem, right? Then you're doing exactly what the conservatives want. You're doing what the evangelical right wants. For the record, you should hear both sides on all issues. You should just also be able to conclude based on the evidence. You should hear both sides, and you should hear both sides and be like, oh, I see, one's wrong.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like people, it really bothers me when people are saying things like, "Oh, don't listen to the other side." It's like, no, listen to them and think about what they're saying and compare it to the data you have at hand and determine if it's true or not. Everybody, you should definitely listen to them because you want to know why they think what they think, so you know how to argue against them. So like, why do they think they're right, and what can you tell them to convince them otherwise? That's neither here nor there.
I mean, to a certain extent, I agree with you. You should know what they are arguing, and you should formulate counter arguments to it. So yeah, I'm with you on that, I guess. I'm not saying anyone should like close the I can't hear you. But
which a lot of people do.
Well, do they? Who's doing that?
Yeah, it's called deplatforming, and it happens constantly.
Oh, people get deplatformed. Are you gonna talk about cancel culture? Are we talking about cancel culture?
We don't have to go into all of that. I think we probably feel similarly about it all.
People get deplatformed for hate speech, violation of terms of use, and
I mean, it's always if you get deplatformed because you broke the terms of service, it's always fair. It's up to them. Make a new platform, which some people have done. You know, there's platforms you can go to, but I still think it's bad to. There's a lot of argument for like making a Twitter like a public utility where they wouldn't be able to ban people, but I think we'd have to just government fund it to justify that, right?
Government fund.
Let's make government funded Twitter. Let's do it.
I mean,
I'll pay into a government funded Twitter.
Honestly, I think it would probably be a better world if like things like platforms like Twitter, Facebook were like not privately owned. I think like things like I mean things like
just make a PBS
access.
For social media, you know.
Yeah.
Like you know, the government could just buy one out. There's a Tiblar, that's like a small one that one guy made who's one of my patrons. It's basically Tumblr and Twitter combined. Just have the government buy that and make it into a pure free speech platform. I'd be down.
I mean,
anyway, this has gotten way off topic.
If
only our moderator were here.
Yeah, I miss him. I'm gonna message him on Discord and tell him to die. At Give and Take, get back here. I miss you. Because I feel like. All right, I feel like we've gotten sidetracked and we've lost momentum. Let me take a look at Twitter. What was I getting real mad about? What was I getting the most
back?
Yeah.
Dude, I had to talk about, okay, there's a lot of people who tell me things like, I can't believe that you're still friends with Ben.
Really?
He said if somebody who I talked to me on Twitter the way that he does, I would have stopped talking to him. And I'm like, I'm not bothered by your politics at all. I can think everything you believe is retarded and still be your friend. I don't think that, but I could believe that, you know?
I mean, okay. Well, Digi, I guess I'll say I don't think everything you believe is retarded. I don't mean to. I'm trying to stop saying retarded, but I said it. You're a bad influence.
Never stop. Never stop. Don't let them win. Don't let the retards win.
I don't think that. I think you're on the right track. Like, I think you're like a gender abolitionist, right?
I am a gender abolitionist.
I think that's pretty cool. I think your heart's in the right place on that. And like, I got into Yang for a bit there before I was like, actually, Bernie's better.
Do you want to have a Yang debate?
We can talk. Yeah, we can talk about Yang. We can talk
because I'm supposed to do this with Vaush, and it's easier to talk to you because I actually know what you think.
You can. I mean, you can. There's no reason you can't do it with both of us.
It's true.
Yeah.
So
like, okay, I think this is a good because like Yang is explicitly pro-capitalism. Yang is
he's pro-human capitalism.
Yeah. Human-centered capitalism, and he's got his saying that's like
I'm actually wearing my not left, not right forward shirt today.
I was just gonna
purely
say,
coincidentally, pure coincidence that this whole debate
haven't you
happened.
You gotta buy one of my Vaporwave Yang shirts.
Fuck the Vaporwave Yang shirt. I'm not supporting Bernie through you.
I donated all of the proceeds to Bernie.
I just buy a Bernie shirt for what it's worth. In the last election, me and May, for that matter, were Bernie bros. Totally through the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, what happened?
Bernie fucking backed out. That's what fucking happened.
What do you mean
he gave up the nom?
What do you mean he backed out and gave up the nom? The fucking superdelegates screwed him out of it.
Dude, he literally there's been like it's come to light that he had said even like earlier on that he was going to bow out.
But he
Like
didn't.
he abandoned
he lost the electoral, or fuck, he lost the primary vote. He didn't back out.
Well, that's what I heard, is that he backed out.
It's wrong. It's totally wrong.
I need to look at I need to Snopes this later, but
okay.
Anyway, well, I mean, ultimately, here's the thing about Bernie versus Yang. So Yang's policy, both of them want Medicare for all. Yang's policy is universal basic income, $1,000
but Yang
a
doesn't
month.
talk about Medicare for all in a way that makes me think he's like prioritizing it.
He talks about it in his book. He was talking about doing it where they would just keep lowering the age until it was for everybody. Like,
yeah, which I know that's what Bernie wants to do too, and I think that's what we should do. But like,
yeah, I think
feel
pretty
like
much all the Democrats have that on their platform.
Yeah, they stole it from Bernie.
The only
which,
difference,
good for Bernie. I'm glad that he made that into like a standard thing.
Yeah, I mean, who cares who stole it from who if they all?
And I mean,
but
the
biggest difference though is that Bernie
yeah.
only wants it to be public healthcare, no private healthcare, and I don't think anybody else has that position.
I mean, I think if we had public health care, it would just have the inevitable consequence of destroying private health care.
Why would that happen?
Because nobody would want private health care anymore. I mean,
that's completely wrong.
Why
I mean,
is
the
that
whole
wrong?
reason so many people are defending private health care is because they don't want public health care. Like, it's the only reason anybody hates Medicare for all, because they think that public health care is not as good. And it is not as good in a lot of ways. Like, because when you're on public health care, you're on a wait list that is determined by how important it is to see you. So if you're going to die, they will prioritize you. If they don't think you're going to die, they won't prioritize you.
Well then private health care has the opposite problem, where you're prioritized based on how good your coverage is, which is just how rich you are.
Right. That's the issue, is that people who have the money, which in America, most people have private health care because your job pays for it, which is not necessarily a good thing because it sticks you with your job. It's why people, don't have easy job mobility, is because they're worried about losing healthcare. And I don't have healthcare coverage at all right now, so like it would benefit me in the moment. I probably will once. I definitely will if I decide to start a family, but
you should get
I'll get a family plan.
You will not regret it.
You think, like, right now you think I need healthcare? I mean, I'm not.
I got fucking billed like $6,000 because I had that kidney stone that one time.
You don't get Mass Health living in Massachusetts?
At the time, I hadn't signed up. I had moved back to Massachusetts and I hadn't signed up for it yet. So no, I was uncovered for that.
And I mean, let's also bring that up. There is free healthcare in some places in America. Mass Health exists in Massachusetts. Tom is currently getting a surgery under it.
Yeah.
But he also had to wait a really long time.
There is, but it's not like available to. Okay, in some parts of the country, that's true. I think it should be available everywhere, and also it's not available to everyone. It's like you have to meet certain like very specific criteria, like you have to be under a certain income threshold.
What I want to present is this dichotomy. We'll use Tom as an example. I don't know if he'd agree with this, but whatever. Tom said just recently on Twitter that he was very grateful.
Shout out to Tom in the hospital right now.
Yeah, shout out to Tom.
Spine fixed.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers for real.
Tom said that he was very thankful for the existence of Mass Health because he literally could not have gotten these procedures without it. But it is also true that
imagine living in a state that doesn't have it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pro having it, but I don't like Bernie's stance of no private healthcare, because if he had the money, he would not have had to be immobile for 3 months while he waited for them to give him the surgery, or like to even know if it's going to work. Like, if he could have afforded it, he could have paid for it to happen right then and there.
Okay. Well, let's say that that's true. Okay, you're talking about like who's getting prioritized for healthcare, right? Like, you're saying that if he had the money, he could have had it faster. And maybe that's true, but like prioritizing one case has to come at the cost of deprioritizing someone else. So like, yeah, you can say that, oh well, if Tom had had more money, then maybe private healthcare could have helped him better. But like, okay, that doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like he's a part. Like for every, I assume that like everyone who is getting, like for him to get his surgery sooner, everyone who would have gotten their surgery before him now got moved back. So like I feel like it must even out.
In that private, well, that's why I think there should just be both. Like if you have the money to get it done right away, go private. If you don't, go public.
I don't think that Bernie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that his plan is like to pass a bill that like outlaws private insurance companies. The idea is just that the public option will destroy them by being preferable.
There's also an argument that well, this kind of goes both ways. May was just writing me like notes on private healthcare, because there's always an argument that that doctors want to work for a private practice because it pays more, but there's also evidence, and Yang talked about this in his book, that doctors hate their jobs because of the way the system is. That like it's sort of similar to how like teachers they get paid less but they have higher job satisfaction than most people because they think they're doing something worthwhile. I definitely think there are tons of doctors who would want to work in the in public healthcare because they would feel like they were, doing something good. There's probably tons of ideologically left-leaning doctors, but like again, why not both? It's kind of like if we can have both, why not both? And Bernie was I don't know exactly
personally,
what his...
I don't care to like abolish private healthcare as long as like a good public option exists for everyone.
Yeah, it was just very strange because in one of the debates, like Biden was really pressing Bernie on this and being like, why do you have to get rid of the private ones? And he would not answer the question. Like he just completely dodges it if it gets brought up, and stuff like that is why I have a problem with Bernie.
I don't think he dodges it. I think there are good reasons. Like it costs.
Yeah, but he
more.
didn't state them. He didn't state anything. He literally wouldn't argue it. Huh?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's made the case elsewhere, and I've heard it made before, that like the private healthcare industry is more expensive than a public option.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying why not both? Like he won't answer the question of why not both. Every time it gets brought up,
he's answered the question. There are good reasons
for why not both.
I don't know. Like, yeah. Well,
I mean, I've heard people make. I saw somebody make an argument for why not both on Twitter the other day. That was, I don't remember what it was. I remember thinking it was somewhat reasonable, but I just disagreed. Like ultimately, I think there's no reason having both can't work. And it's just one thing that I just look at Bernie and I say, like, this is why you are not going to win, is because you want to take away private healthcare, and a lot of Americans are very proud of their healthcare.
Bullshit! What the fuck kind of dumbass thing to say is that? Nobody gives a shit about their
healthcare. A lot of them are. No,
that's fucking whack.
This is what happens when you don't listen to any conservatives at all. You don't understand that a lot of them are very, very proud of their healthcare.
Who would be proud of their fucking healthcare?
Ben, do you know that people regularly come down from Canada to go to American doctors so they don't have to wait for their procedures? It happens all the fucking time. Fucking Tenlead, wife of Jeff Thu, a proud leftist, I think, came down to America to get her fucking tit surgery or whatever. Like, and granted, I agree that
that's a great case for why we should abolish private health industry, because I don't want people like Jeff Thu and Tenlead to be prioritized by the system over like anyone else. I think that's bullshit.
No, I agree. That's why there should be both. Again, like
honestly, you're making me more sympathetic to the abolish private health care idea. Maybe we should abolish it, because that just seems like a gross miscarriage of justice. I'm not even fucking joking.
Well, if you can just go to the free one, then what does it matter? Like, what does it matter that the private one exists if there's also the public
Let me try
one?
And parse this out. I think it would matter because the doctors who are working for either private or public, right? If private will pay them more, then that still means that the privately owned, that rich people with really good private health insurance are going to get prioritized. Maybe like I think that's probably why you gotta abolish. I'm on board. No, I'm on board. Fucking abolish private health insurance.
For what? Wait, explain
because its
what you just
because its
realized.
existence prioritizes rich people to just get care ahead of time. It's having a well funded.
It's not about being rich.
It is about being
having...
rich.
No, you don't have to be
The
rich
richer
to have private
the richer you
healthcare.
are, the richer you
Ben,
are,
we're
the
talking
more
about the
you
difference
are
between
prioritized.
okay, who all needs socialized medicine? Probably less than like 30% of the country needs it. Like most of us have health insurance. Most of us can go to the doctor and get it fast. It's only poor people who need socialized medicine. So it's not a matter of rich versus everybody else. It's like regular versus poor in this case.
I'm saying, okay, here's the thing, right? If it's like, oh, there's only so many doctors, there's wait lists, right? Then it's like, well, who do we treat first? And if you have a private option that pays more for the procedure, then those people will get prioritized under capitalism. And I think that's bad.
In the private sector, but not in the public sector.
Well, doctors will have a choice in who they work for, and if the private sector pays more because it's, I don't know, financed by a small cabal of rich oligarchs, for example.
Do you think though that doctors will only work for whoever pays them more? Because if that's the case, then we're going to have a problem with socialized medicine of just fewer doctors because there's nobody can make a ton of money. Like the biggest reason to be a doctor in America, if it's not for ideological reasons that you want to help people, it's because you want to make a fuckload of money. If you take out the fuckload of money, those people aren't going to be doctors. They're going to go do something that makes them a fuckload of money. But if you keep in their ability to do that, you can have both. If you're an ideological doctor, go work for the social health care. If you're a capitalist doctor, go work for capitalist health care. And I think it would create more doctors because of the fact that there are a lot of people who I think reject the profession because of the capitalist aspect of it. I mean, if you look at, for instance, like Osamu Tezuka and the story Blackjack, it's very critical of like the way that hospitals are run, all the politics, all of the bullshit money that goes around, like I think there's tons of people who have probably left the medical profession because of capitalism making it bad, who would love to go work in a socialist medicine, but it doesn't mean we have to get rid of capitalist medicine. In my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong and this would all shake out very differently because we're all just trying to predict human behaviors here, which is nigh impossible.
I don't want to die. I don't want to die on the hill that, like, in addition to Medicare for all, we need to also abolish private healthcare. I'm sympathetic to the idea.
Mm-hmm. I would say I'm sympathetic to it as well. I just don't understand why Bernie would run on the platform of going to that extreme right away, as opposed to what everyone else is doing, which is say, like, let's start with Medicare for all. Then we can worry about if we're going to get rid of the other doctors, Like, why are we out the gate? Like, we're going to kill fucking private healthcare entirely. Like, that's not a platform that I think is going to reach, especially across the aisle, where, again, a lot of conservatives are really against Medicare, or Medicaid, whichever it is. They're really against it. Like, they hate it. That's one of the biggest things that conservatives hate is Obamacare. They hate getting taxed for these government programs that they don't think have enough positive result to justify the amount of money spent on them, essentially.
Okay, yeah, well, they hate getting taxed so that poor people
and you only have to make $250,000 a year to be in a tax bracket that is hit heavily by, having to pay.
You only have to make $250,000 a year.
It's not that much money. Compared to $1 billion,
not. Compared to $1 billion, well, okay, compared to $1 billionaire. Yeah, nothing's anything compared to $1 billionaire.
I hate this idea that it's like, tax the 1%, and it's like, no, tax the 0.007% who are the billionaires. Like, they're the ones who have all the power and capital,
true. But someone said on Twitter the other day that, like, Okay, now I don't buy into the whole like, oh, the rich will just evade any taxes that we put on them, so we shouldn't bother. Like I think that's stupid. But also like people with like a high net worth, their net worth is not necessarily in their income per se. So like while I would support, higher like more extreme progressive tax brackets on like, the 1% and the 0.1% and whatever, um I mean, I don't know if that would. It's not like I don't know if that would get us everything that we would hope it would get us.
Right.
They
Okay.
they do have ways of getting around it.
Let's move into an argument I think you're more passionate about,
Okay.
which is UBI versus minimum wage slash.
Yeah.
So Bernie's thing is he wants jobs for all and to raise the minimum wage, right? Like, would you say that's his central economic policy? Am I missing anything?
I mean, just like with Medicare for all, it's not just Bernie, but yeah, that's one. Like raising the minimum wage and creating jobs is a
Jobs
big
for
thing.
all specifically. He wants there to be no one left behind without a job.
Is that a thing? Is that like is
Yeah, that
jobs
was
for
something
all like a slogan?
he I don't know if that's a slogan, but he talked about it in I think somewhere. It was either a debate or on Joe Rogan, I don't remember, but he was talking about how the government would just like create jobs for everybody. I don't know. The chat can tell me if I'm wrong. I have not been reading it. I assume you are though. But
And like Anathema Bidesu says, the reason to abolish private insurance is that a strong public option cannot coexist with it. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that like just the existence of the private healthcare insurance industry
just don't
would
I don't
would
think
undermine the public option.
I both don't think that's true and think that if it is true, we should test it and find out first. Like, why jump to the farthest extreme when
Well,
we can literally
we can't
find
test
out?
it. Like if the private industry would undermine the public option, then we can't test that with the private. We can't test the public option in a world where the private option exists.
Why?
Well, because I'm saying if it is true that the existence of a private option undermines the public option, then
I mean,
trying
what
the
I'm saying
public
is
option
we
in a world where
don't.
the private option exists guarantees failure.
Well, that's what the test would be. It's a test to see if it would fail or not. If it fails, then we say, okay, well now
Yeah,
we can
but
get
I'm
rid of the
saying that
private one.
if it's true that it undermines it, then the fact that the private option exists would make it fail, and then it would say, "Oh, guess it didn't work."
Exactly.
Even though
That is the test.
even though it would have theoretically, it might have worked in the absence of a private option.
We can, after you do the test, you just then do the other thing. Like,
What?
if you okay, let's say
Shit. Sorry.
we elect Bernie. He goes Medicare for all.
You gotta give me a second because my headphones just died.
Oh, jeez.
Uh,
They just died.
I don't know why that just happened.
All right. Well,
I'm still here.
hey, he's alive.
There you are. There you are.
Happened.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my headphones died, but I'm back.
Okay. So what I was saying is, why would it not be possible to currently it's in America all private healthcare except for a couple states, which by the way, in those states you can also have private healthcare. So, the test is already being run.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, you could introduce Medicare for all everywhere, and if the private existence of private healthcare means that it doesn't work, get rid of private healthcare, then that would be the test period.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I mean, yeah, I think that is what we should do because, like, abolishing private healthcare and establishing Medicare
Fucking
for all
Nino
are two
is trying.
different things.
Nino is so desperate to come on this show that
I know,
he's literally calling me. How could you calling me even be possible while I'm talking to Ben in a call?
No,
We're not letting you
this
moderate.
Is not, yeah, no.
Nino moderation would not be moderation. It would be inviting the guy who's going to talk more than anyone onto the show. Like, I know how this works.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh God,
I know
back.
that the two of you are like, you can handle yourselves. Like, neither of you are going to be bowled over by the other, so I'm not really needed for anything.
Yeah.
So an additional moderator is not really required here.
I know it's gay, but I'm just happy you're here. I just enjoy
Yeah,
your
sorry.
company.
Dude, same. Dude, high five.
Fuck
Yeah.
through the mic. Okay,
amazing.
wait. We were gonna move on. We were gonna move on from private healthcare to something else.
We're gonna talk about
a UBI. Okay.
Yeah, UBI versus
Yeah.
Jobs for All and raising minimum wage.
Now, I am not against. I think I've told you this. I'm not against UBI, and I do think that even as proposed by Yang, it would probably still be a net benefit. But there are things that I really don't like about it, and I think things that I think undermine its goodness, which is mostly the fact that it would be funded through a value-added tax, which is basically a sales tax, i.e. a regressive tax. And I think if we want to get that money, we should do what you were saying. We should increase the progressive tax brackets on, the 1%, the 0.1%. We should get it that way. That would be a more progressive way to do it. It would even out. It would be a more effective method of wealth redistribution.
Yeah, sorry. It's such a shame to me that the phrase 1% has such a good ring to it, because again, like the actual 1% in America is like 1% of all Americans means 30 million people, right?
Yeah.
Like the actual people who we're worried about, like the super billionaires, there are not 30 million of them, like not even remotely. We're really worried about a few thousand people who are like the oligarchs in control of the country, doing everything, fucking up our government, doing all the fucking lobbying, consolidating all the media, ruining our culture. Like, if our argument is just like kill and eat the super rich, sick. I'm totally down, because those people are
this is why I haven't given up on you, okay? Because I don't know if you feel this way. I would just cut ties with someone whose politics I thought were abhorrent. I don't think your politics are abhorrent. There's a couple of things you say that really annoy me.
I'd probably cut ties with somebody if they were like a Nazi, like an actual Nazi,
I mean, they live among us. They live and breathe among us, disguised. But but whatever. Okay.
I don't know if they're disguised, do they still count as a Nazi?
Absolutely, there are crypto fascists. There are crypto ethnostaters. And sometimes they don't even know. Yes, and sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes they don't even know what they're advocating for. But if you really press them on it, they will get to the point where it's like, it's not like I hate black people. I just think the country would work better if only whites were allowed to stay here. I mean, they're rare, but they're around.
So, okay, here's why I like UBI and why I think Bernie's policies are boomer shit.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And it's because jobs for everybody doesn't solve the problem.
Thanks for the sub. Dab. Okay, jobs for everyone doesn't solve the problem, you say.
Yeah, because the issue is, I mean, aside from the fact the whole automation thing, which I think Yang is the only person even talking about, and it's a big deal. I mean, if you read his book, have you read his book or listened to it, the audiobook?
Okay, I started listening to it on audiobook, and I got maybe an hour in, and I was like, I've heard enough interviews with the guy. Like, I already know. Yeah. I already know all this.
Well, his book is maybe, it definitely tries to be like as fucking gloom and doom as possible about the future with automation. But like one of the big things that he really fixates on is the truck drivers, because it's a huge job for a lot of America, and it's a huge job for white guys, like middle-aged white dudes.
Yeah.
What? What about Peter?
I got a sub, dude. I got a sub.
Oh. It's a huge job for middle-aged white dudes all over the country, and if it gets automated, he's basically worried that there's going to be like fucking riots and just untold chaos. Like, dude, when these people all lose their jobs, it's gonna be like the post-apocalypse Mad Max shit right out the gate. It's basically the way he pitches it in the book.
We don't have to go on a bit okay, yeah, I've heard Yang talk about truck drivers. Sounds like a big problem, and they're totally fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know much about truck drivers myself, but I know about the gig economy. And I know about companies like Uber and Lyft and whatever. These fucking companies, they don't even have employees. They just fucking extract. They just extract surplus value. They extract surplus value via fucking algorithm.
I mean, here's the thing. You and we're not even employed. Like, we make money through people just giving us money. We have no benefits. There's no, like, overhead. There's no boss. There's no government protection. It's like there's so many jobs in America right now that are just not the way jobs used to be. And like, how is Bernie like raising minimum wage going to benefit you or I? You know, how is it going to benefit people
You
who
know what? You're absolutely well. Okay, on the one hand, it won't directly. I mean, okay, I'll argue this from a completely selfish point of view, right?
Yeah.
I think that it would okay, I think UBI would benefit me in a similar way. But increasing the minimum wage would okay, here's what I think. If any method of wealth redistribution, any method of flattening out like the fucking wealth curve in America, any of that stands to benefit me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the basis that if that were to happen, more people would have more disposable income and be willing to spend money on things that are completely objectively useless, like supporting me as I make internet shit.
Let me pitch this to you, Ben.
Yeah.
I've been a patron of yours from the beginning.
Yeah.
If minimum wage gets raised, I personally will not have any extra money to give you.
You're not. Yeah. Okay.
If I get $1,000 a month, I can give you way more money.
Okay.
I personally.
Yes, it's true. And that's probably true of many people. And okay, I mean, I think maybe the difference is just that I think that UBI would not like I think that same effect happens either way. The same effect happens whichever way you achieve a flattening out of society. The effect is the net positive. The positive effect is the same. It's just a question of which way does it better.
I don't think.
And let me say again, I'm not against UBI. I like UBI. If Bernie was like, hey, we gotta kill the private healthcare industry, and also maybe we should do UBI too, I'd be like, cool, man, good, even better. You're better than ever.
I mean, I don't want to come off like I only care about myself. It's definitely true that Bernie's policies won't help me and Yang's will, in like a direct sense. Like, yes, maybe more of the people who follow me will be getting paid more.
Me too. If that were, I also, I'll benefit from Medicare for all, but they both want that. I will not benefit from an increase in minimum wage, except indirectly if it leads to more people having more disposable income.
You also have to remember that raising the minimum wage doesn't mean raising all wages. It means raising the minimum wage, which means that people who can't live off their wages currently might be able to live off their wages after that. But it doesn't mean that the people who are above them at the jobs are automatically going to get paid the same amount incrementally more.
I know.
And it also means that which, you know, so like, yeah, if some of our fans say we're working minimum wage jobs and now they're working, you know, getting $15 an hour, they might be able to pay us more, but it doesn't mean that all of the people who watch us can do that. Whereas in UBI, literally everybody has more money to spend.
Here's what, okay, and again, I think that UBI does this, but I also think raising the minimum wage does it. Yes, it's true that only minimum wage workers or people who are currently earning below $15 an hour stand to benefit from an increase to the minimum wage. But what that does is it increases labor's collective bargaining power. That is a blow against companies that want to exploit people by paying them like subsistence level wages. And yeah, it doesn't immediately raise the wages of everyone above that level, but it gives people who are underneath that level, it gives them more power to be choosier and to like look for better employment.
I think UBI does that way more.
UBI also does it. It's true.
UBI does it way more effectively because you have an extra $1,000 every month that you just get for being alive. Like, you know, homeless people, they do not benefit from raising minimum wage, and they might not even benefit from jobs for all because a lot of people cannot work. Like, a lot of people are fucking totally insane and they literally cannot work. Like, what are we going to do about those people? Are you just going to like pretend they have a job and just give them minimum wage for 40 hours a week? Which, I mean, fine, that's basically UBI at that point. But you know, it's just like what I like about the whole idea of human capitalism is that it's like, you know, in America, you have the inalienable right of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You cannot pursue happiness with no money. You cannot pursue happiness if you're fucking homeless and crazy. You should just be given the ability to live, to have some kind of first stepping stone as a human being. That's kind of the
what
core
I think
idea
would be
behind it.
better? What I think would be better than UBI, and tell me if you agree with this, better than just giving everyone $1,000 a month. What if everyone were guaranteed, you know, an apartment and like a certain allotment of food, right? Like if instead of just giving them money, what if we just
the problem with that is that we'd have
met their material needs?
Where are we going to build the apartments? Because
yes, that is a question.
And it's also because okay, one of the reasons that we don't give that, like, people always complain about how there's all these abandoned buildings and tons of homeless people. Homeless people fuck shit up. It's just what happens. A lot of them are insane. You know, like a lot of them will fucking just wreck the place that you put them in, and it's like you just gotta, like, you know, it's like it's not so simple as just like put person in house. It could be in some cases. I mean, if I don't know, have people out there meeting with homeless people and finding out if they could use a house or something like that, you know. But like
Greg B. Art, says UBI is cheaper than that. I mean, $1,000 a month would pay for my rent, and it would way more than pay for my rent and food for a month. And I feel like probably that's true for a lot of people.
I mean, and this was one of the weird things about Vaush's video about Yang, where he had this bizarre statement that, like, if people got an extra $1,000 a month, it wouldn't necessarily translate to them spending an extra $1,000 a month. In my case, it absolutely would lead to that. Like, it would be, oh, I can buy all the things that I don't think I can afford, you know, or like I can my rent is taken care of. I don't have to worry about that, you know.
I mean, I would not spend all of it. I would save some of it, but I would spend more. Right.
Exactly.
I would have more disposable income.
And I think that, so here's my biggest argument though about why I think UBI is so much more effective. And this, I'm gonna hearken to a fucking tweet that Asher made that was the most retarded thing I ever read in my whole fucking life. Where he said, like, basically I was arguing about that raising minimum wage could hurt small businesses who can't afford to pay more. And he said, if a business can't afford to pay a full living wage, then fuck them, they don't deserve to exist.
I agree.
If that's the mentality you have, then eventually there is only going to be Amazon and Walmart and major corporations. Nothing else is going to exist.
I don't know about that. No, I think I'm with Asher.
Because
like, do you know that, like, when minimum wage was established, the idea was that a 40-hour work week at minimum wage would make enough to support an entire family. Like, it was set at a level that would allow that to happen, and it's so far below that now.
The economy was also okay. Well, I guess I'll just ask you this question: do you think that UBI would do a better job than minimum wage at providing everybody a living wage? Because here's the issue I have with it. With UBI, let's say that
it's hard to say. I don't know.
Let's say that I'm a small business owner. I'm paying my employees $10 an hour. If the minimum wage were raised to $15 an hour, I would have to cut an employee. I would rather have all of them, because once that employee is gone, not only will that put more stress on everybody else who's still getting paid the same amount, but they have to now do more work, but also that person is probably going to go get a job working for Amazon or some other dumb fucking shitty bullshit place that can afford to pay the minimum wage, but is going to run them into the ground. And they're not, you know, they don't get to work at a cool fucking local business that promotes the welfare of their own town, right? So, like, if this small business owner,
I think you're engaging in some weird, like, unethical business apologia, and I don't like it. Frankly, I don't like it.
I'm not apologizing for unethical business. I think ideally all businesses should be able to pay a living wage, and I think if UBI went through, they would, and it would be way more competitive, because all these small businesses now, like, everybody who works for it now has an extra $1,000 a month. They don't have to just work at
Thanks
wherever.
For the sub, Mega Shy Dude.
They can much more easily. Hey, that's Shade.
Follow Mega Shy Dude. Apparently, he just gave me $25, which is also nice. Did he buy a book? I wonder if he bought a book.
So
Buy my comic. You got a couple days left. Everyone in the chat, you gotta go to my Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. You can still get my fucking comic book through PayPal.
I guess what I'm trying to say is my concern is that in order to keep things vibrant and good, we need competition. And the reason that companies like Amazon and Walmart can compete is because they make the cheapest shit. They fucking mass produce this stuff in China. It's shitty stuff. You buy stuff that's shitty and cheap, and you buy it because it's the only thing you can afford. If you could afford to buy nicer things than what you get at Walmart, you wouldn't buy things at Walmart. You would buy things that were, that were made locally, that were made professionally, that cost a little bit more because, more labor hours went into it. And I think that to keep the economy healthy, that's the market we need to protect, not the companies that can afford to pay people more because they keep cutting the cost in other places, such as the production, where then and moreover, it keeps us poor when we rely on stuff like Walmart, because all this shit breaks down and it doesn't hold up. You buy a shirt at Walmart, you need a new shirt next year. You buy a fucking, well-made shirt, you wear it for a decade. It's like, if we had the initial income to buy nice things, we would not need to buy things all the time and be kept in this perpetual state of poverty. So I think that like anything that supports the ability to make higher quality products, more local, more competition between businesses, incentivizing people to buy something nicer instead of buying the most convenient, cheapest thing is the best for the economy.
Well, I don't think we're too far misaligned on this one, because like you're saying, I mean, you're just basically saying like whatever gets like more money into people's hands is good, and I agree with that. And
Yeah,
I do
I
think
just think that
UBI would do that and would have that effect.
I think raising the minimum wage, I'm not opposed to it, and I'm not opposed to jobs for everyone necessarily. It's just that I look at these solutions and I think these feel very old-minded. It's like the jobs for everybody doesn't address the problem that's actually happening with jobs, which is that we no longer need humans to perform nearly as many jobs as there are humans. So like if we are prioritizing humans, just give them money for existing, for being human and being in the country, and then let
I'm
them
with you.
perpetuate a better economy,
No, I'm with you. I agree. And I mean, I think, yeah, like I know the argument about like, okay, businesses like Amazon, Uber, whatever, the trucking industry, they're going to be automating away the need for labor, and so what?
And raising the minimum wage is only going to make them do it faster. Because, like, McDonald's, they
Well,
currently
yeah.
debate with themselves about whether they want to replace all their cashiers with machines. But you raise the minimum wage, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. They are going to... It will make them raise it faster. I mean...
I just think Bernie's plan leads to a future where everybody works for the government. And I don't want to work for the fucking government. I don't think most people want to work for the fucking government, especially because the government is going to surveil you. Anybody who works for the government is subjected to much more surveillance.
I've heard this before, that Bernie wants everyone to work for the government. Like, doing what?
I guess just road projects and stuff, like infrastructure projects.
Like the New Deal?
I think so. I think it's basically like that again. But I think that in our modern society, it's just going to mean something very different from what it did before.
I guess I don't know how I feel about that, because, like, okay, I was looking at this because me and May were arguing about FDR on Twitter the other day, Lamau. And, like, unemployment in the Great Depression was, like, sky fucking high. It was, like, 29% or something like that. And, the New Deal did something about that. Unemployment, per se, is not that high right now. I think it's, like, pretty low at like 5%. Sinful Sacristan, thank you for this sub. Let me look up what is current unemployment rate. I'll just keep it to the US. 3.7%. So unemployment is not that high. The problem is the gig economy and shit like that. The problem is the gig economy and low wages, and the way that wages have not kept up with this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how have you seen that graph of how like worker productivity has gone up and up and up for decades, whereas like relative wages have completely stagnated, like since, I don't know, a while, maybe since Reagan or before that even. I don't remember. That's what a higher minimum wage is meant to address.
Yeah.
And it's good. I know. Okay. Yeah, local businesses. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not that sympathetic. I'm not that sympathetic to local business. I'm
okay,
totally with
the reason
totally
I
with
am is
Asher
that, like,
on this. That, like, if the local business can't afford to pay, if they like, grandma bet the whole farm so she could live her dream, start her little tea shop out in the countryside, but she can't afford to pay 15. She'll go out of business if we make her pay more than $7 an hour to her waitresses. Everyone's gotta chip in and bootstrap together to make this dream come true. Like, no, fuck it. Die.
I mean,
okay. Your business sucks.
If your business sucks, it should die.
Yeah.
But here, let me talk about why. Okay, why my perspective is like this is that I make a lot more money than a lot of people on the internet. So I have the money to buy nice things, and owning nice things improves your life in such a dramatic way. Like having a good mattress or a good chair, like if you just go to a regular ass store and buy like the cheapest thing you can get, you're going to fuck your back up, especially if you do my job, right?
Yeah.
So like I look at it and I think like I have a Casper mattress. That's a small business, it's an internet run small business, probably operated with there's probably not a lot of people working for it, honestly. But like they're able to provide like a high quality product with a competitive price that the reason that people buy it is because it's more convenient, and like it's well marketed. They had a grassroots marketing campaign. It spread through word of mouth. Like this is the kind of business that I think is doing something really great and that I want to protect, And like the reason I want to protect it is because I've been sleeping
what was
on
the
this
specific example of the business?
Casper mattress.
Okay.
And like the reason I value it is because like I own one, I sleep on it. My back problems, I had really bad back problems from doing this job all the time until I replaced my chair and my bed. And like
Mega Shadow, I don't know how to turn the notification. I would have to turn down my audio. Okay, you know what I'll do?
Is everybody hearing your notification sounds?
Yeah, and they're real. Okay, I'm gonna turn your volume up as high as it'll go, and then lower my overall like desktop audio, and hopefully that will mollify the issue a bit.
You got to get that thing that Oblivion Fall talked about.
Yeah.
That lets you like manage all the channels of everything.
Well, I don't have it, so whatevs. Hippo, get back in here, you fucker. Okay.
I'm here.
Hey, I just wanted to say hi. How you doing?
Hi.
Cool. Are you listening?
I'm listening. Yeah, I'm just playing a video. I'm gaming hardcore right now.
Well, I just want to say that if you got any takes on all this, you're more than welcome to jump in with them.
Well, I mean, I always feel like my political takes are very uninformed.
Hippo,
I'm not like I've never read a book in my life.
I'm gonna make a bold stance on this. I think that you are number 2 to me in terms of best politics on the PCP. A distant second, a very distant second, but nevertheless number 2.
Oh,
and I appreciate that very much.
God,
I think
honored.
I've proven right here in the stream that I have the best politics.
No.
PCP. Fuck Ben.
No. We can all agree Mage has the worst, though, right?
What is her?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Like, write it in stone.
I'm not kidding, but whatever. Let's not get into it.
I mean, I just don't know enough of her politics.
She's fucking black-pilled. She's
I mean,
black-pilled as fuck.
We are all black-pilled. You mean to say she's red-pilled?
I mean her in the bad way.
Black-pilled means recognizing that everything's a conspiracy.
Mage is basically a MGTOW.
She is kind of a MGTOW, even though she's a woman.
Okay. All right. Sorry, we were talking about small businesses and raising the minimum wage.
I think we've pretty much said all there is to say about it. Is there anything else we should be arguing about here? We've completely gotten away from our original argument.
Let's revisit the initial claim, which is that if you deny left and right, if you deny that there are two opposing ideologies of left and right, you fall into the trap You fall into a trap that the right wants you to fall into, and you
Actually,
tacitly support their agenda.
What we should really argue about is probably your follow-up tweet. Let me find that one. The one where you clarified what you meant by it. Let me go look for that, because that was the one I called even more retarded.
Oh, did you see? Hey, I want all the centrists out there to know that Christine Weston Chandler agrees with them, because Christine replied to me saying, "If I may," I'll just read it out loud. "If I may, between left and right, one side for the needs of everyone versus the needs of self and selves on the other side. This difference is a moot point, as both sides serve everyone regardless, which is why it is better for everyone to come together to serve each other." So make of that what you will.
Based.
Fucking based.
I mean, I kind of get what she means.
I don't understand, because she says one side serves everyone, the other serves the self, but actually they both serve everyone.
I mean,
what does that mean?
If one side serves the self and every single person is the self, then it is serving everybody. That's what she's thinking. Like, if it serves, if it's all for, the individual, and we're all individuals, then we're all being helped. But I think the point is more that serving yourself can come at the cost of somebody else, and the leftist mentality is that. Well, I mean, the leftist mentality is also that it has to come at the cost of you, because you can't, use your abilities to take advantage of other people. Maybe she's right. Maybe she's right about everything. Maybe Chris Chan was the prophet all along.
I don't know. No, she's the deity. I am the mere prophet. I am merely a prophet to C197. Okay, I'm sorry to derail.
Right, so you said, "Can't believe you fools require an explanation, but I'll throw you a bone."
Yes.
Denying the left-right distinction is reactionary. It tacitly endorses the status quo. It advocates for no change and endorses whatever hierarchies happen to exist already. In a word, it's neoliberal horse shit.
All one word. Yeah. I believe that.
So, okay. See, I don't deny the distinction between the left and the right. I just deny that those are the only two things that you have to be one or the other.
If they are on a okay, leaving aside axes, because we've already established that yes, you can be left or right on one axis and something else on another, right? Economic versus cultural versus, I think there's another one, but I forget what it is. But so let's leave that aside. Let's just think in terms of one axis. I don't think you can avoid. I mean, you could be a centrist, which is like, oh, I'm kind of in the middle, like, oh, okay, you could be a centrist in that you're like, maybe you pick and choose, right, like one and the other, and and maybe there are some people like that who genuinely are like 50-50, like, oh, I'm really pro gun rights and the Second Amendment, but I'm also really pro choice. Oh, but I'm also like really want UBI. Oh, but I also really want to I want to raise the minimum wage, but I also want to like deregulate private industries or whatever. I don't think there's a lot of people that are like that. Maybe there's some, but whatever. So maybe you could be a centrist in that way. The other way to be a centrist is to be like just neutral on everything, but like, what is neutral? If you are neutral, then like that's, you have to define that relatively in terms of like what the current situation is. So being a centrist is basically just saying whatever it is now, do that. And if the system is currently built in a way that favors, some over others, which capitalism is, then if you're a centrist in this way, i.e. you are someone who is just like, whatever it's like now, it's good, no change, please, then you are endorsing whoever is currently on top of the pyramid. Which is, and by the way, conservatism, social conservatism, and economic conservatism are all about building the societal pyramid and placing yourself on top. The left wants an egalitarian society that is flattened out. The right wants an orderly pyramid where the people who deserve to be at the top, however you define that, they want the pyramid. And so if you are a centrist and you're like, whoever is, then you're just endorsing whoever's on top of the pyramid, like implicitly. So that's my argument for why denying the left-right distinction and being like, oh, I'm neutral.
But
you're actually serving the interests of the right.
What if I am an anarchist?
Then you're on the left.
You think that I mean,
yeah.
like, anarchy will not lead to socialism.
Well, I could. Well, I mean, there are like anarcho communists and anarcho socialists. They're
But
not.
like,
They're not.
but I'm not that. Let's say I'm not
Okay.
that, but I am an anarchist.
Do you want to? Okay. What do you mean by anarchy? Because there is like the common understanding of the word, and then there's what card carrying anarchists mean when they say
All
it.
right, what
In a
define
card
the
carrying
card
anarchist
carrying?
way, I definitely am one, because an anarchist, as defined by card carrying anarchists, is just someone who does not believe in hierarchies and wants to flatten them, which is basically what, like, you know, a leftist, it's basically just leftism distilled down to its essence, is like, no hierarchies please, or, you know, maybe certain hierarchies, but only in very specific cases, and only if we like really need them and we can really justify them, and only ones that are like democratically
Okay,
agreed
I would
upon.
say that the difference is that
Yeah.
the like you say no hierarchies, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you have to take away someone's ability to be rich? Because I don't think that's an anarchist position.
Well,
Like, that strikes me as like a socialist authoritarian
I think
position.
an anarchist would be just fundamentally opposed to anyone being a billionaire. So I guess to a certain extent, yes.
I mean, I guess if we're thinking of the government system as it currently is as an oligarchy, you know, like, I guess you would be anti-oligarchy, but it's, you know, like, when I think of anarchy, it would be just like a total governmental hands off, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Which is like, you know, there's ANCAPs who are
I
just
don't
like,
think you
no
can
regulation, please.
right. And like so okay, this is something I was thinking about earlier. I was thinking about tweeting this, but I know that it will be a fucking shitstorm if I do. Um, what is the only reason that like most people don't back anarchy? It's
I mean,
because
I think it's the cultural cachet associated with it. Like I think a lot of people want to reclaim the word. I kind of think we should abandon the word because it's so poisoned. Like when you think of anarchy, you think of like the purge, right?
well, I mean, I guess if you're stupid, which most people, okay, that's exactly
Like that, like
you're making a
yeah,
perfect point because what I wanted to say is the reason we don't back anarchy as a political ideology is because we think people are too stupid to make it work. Like ultimately, we
mm,
think
well, too
on
stupid or the tragedy of the commons or whatever.
right. And
Yeah, like people will sabotage themselves if
and
they're allowed to.
my argument in response to that is that applies to all of the political ideologies that we can have. Like, always the problem
Mm,
is people are too stupid and are going to fuck it up. Always the problem is, like, there's a reason, anytime the discussion on, you know, socialism comes up, it's always like, what about Russia? What about China? And the socialists will say, well, they didn't have a true socialist state. Like they didn't do it right. Well, no one's
yeah,
going to do it right. It's never going to be done right. Neither is capitalism. None of them are going to be done right. So like rather
sure.
than
Not
thinking
nothing's
about it
perfect.
right. So like when you say something like if you're not on the left, you're implicitly on the
On the
right.
right.
It tells me that like you're saying everybody should be ideologically in support of socialism. Like
Yes,
that is the
agreed.
best way for people to be. But I know that
Mm-hmm.
socialism is going to be just as fucked as capitalism if we do it.
No, that. What do you mean? You know it's going to be just as fucked.
It's going to be
How
just
can
as
you
fucked
make a
because it
claim
has
like that?
historically been just as fucked. There
Okay,
has not been a socialist society that was less
there
fucked
have
than a
been.
capitalist one.
Okay,
A purely communist society.
what? Okay, well, yeah, like a purely communist, like, okay, like all the big examples of communism, you know, China and Russia, those were authoritarian communist states, right? And leftists don't like authoritarianism, right? And mostly we would want to be. I think more
And
people
I don't know how
are.
true that is. I think there's plenty of leftist authoritarians.
I don't think there's as many as people make there out to be. I think Okay, that's kind of beside
I think
the point.
surprisingly, a lot of people in America are very authoritarian. I think that if you polled everybody in America, you would find there was more of it than you expected, just because of the fact that people, um, they don't. I mean, again, I just think people are generally very uninformed and don't really know what the fuck they're really voting for when they say certain things.
Hmm.
But like I think there's a lot of people. I think it would be pretty easy for fascism to take over America. I don't
Oh
even think it
yeah.
would be that hard,
Oh yeah. Like
Um
if everyone's a centrist, I think that's inevitable.
I think I mean if everybody is uncaring, if that's what you mean, like
Yeah.
like again, the
It,
problem with
yeah.
centrist, I fucking hate this word centrist because of the fact that it now means two different things. There's being politically apathetic, and then there's being not like left or right wing, but it doesn't make you a centrist to not agree with like those two central parties. It's like that's kind of the core of what I'm trying to argue here. And I really think this would be dead easy to fix. All you got to do is implement the alternative vote, which both Bernie and Yang want to do. So,
Sure. I mean, I
good.
do. I mean,
But like
I don't think that would. I don't think that would fix like people voting based on like spurious reasoning, and I don't think that would.
no, it wouldn't. But it would make it so there is more than two political parties that are considered viable, because nobody has to shame you out of voting fucking third party in that system. You
Yeah.
put the third party as your number one, you put the fucking whichever side you agree with more as your number two, and if the number one choice isn't the one that wins, your vote goes to the number two party. That simple. But like having a system where we tell people like, "Oh, don't vote third party because it's bad, because it's not going to promote the prevailing ideology." Like wasting time saying that instead of saying, let's fucking rise up and get the alternate vote done now. Like let's fucking demand it. Let's fucking riot on Washington and get that implemented because it will save this problem. That's what I want us to be saying. Like, fuck this whole if you're not on the left, you're on the right thing. It's the if you're not pro alternative vote, you're on the right. If you're not pro alternative vote, you're you're a fascist or whatever the fuck. You're promoting things as they are. You're telling everybody status quo's fine.
Well, that's
You
such a
know.
okay, but why can it? Why can you say that about that one specific issue, but nothing else?
Because I think that if we have
By
the
the way, I
ability
am
to
in terms
have
of I am for voting reform. By the
yeah, I
way,
mean, I think most of us are, which is why it's
yeah.
so weird to me that it hasn't like it benefits everybody except for the two parties. So of course they don't want it to be fucking talked about, like they don't want to promote this ideology. It's purely populist. It's a purely fucking it only helps us in that we don't have to vote Republican or Democrat. But because of the fact that these parties are so adamant on radicalizing you to the idea that if you vote third party, you're voting for the other party, it causes that to be the conversation instead of the conversation we need to be having.
it's unfortunate, but a third party vote is just a waste of a vote as under our
That's
current
yeah,
system.
and that's don't you think that it's much more important that we talk about how fucked up the system is that's the case than it is to shame people for third party voting? Like, let's
Um,
fucking get this. This is not a hard thing to fix.
I don't think it
You
has to be
know?
one or the other. I agree with both that one that we should reform voting to make it not so hardline Democrat versus Republican because those are two bad options. One is
Do
worse,
you
but they're
not?
two bad options.
Do you not
And
feel
talk about how we should and how we should. Sorry, we reform
yeah.
voting, and we should acknowledge that voting that way now, as things are, is stupid and won't
I mean, you can
accomplish
say
anything.
it's stupid, but like it
Like
really
in
just
tw-
comes. The only people who think that are people who agree with one side or the other.
No,
Like,
wait. The only people I voted third party in 2016, and it was dumb. It didn't have any material consequences because my state voted Hillary anyway. But like, I think that was a mistake and a waste of a vote and bad praxis.
but you only think that because you regret that Trump won. Like if Hillary
Well,
had won, you wouldn't be feeling any regret over
if
voting
Hillary
third
had
party.
won, I would. I mean, my vote didn't make a difference, but
Right.
if Hillary had won, it's no. I still. Well, I don't know. If Hillary had won, and okay, are you saying that if Hillary had won and it had just been shit, and her presidency had been terrible, and it had been just as bad, then it would have. Then I'd still feel the same way. But
No,
in reverse,
I'm saying that like I think if Hillary had won and it had been good, or whatever. Like I think that if it weren't for the fact that you eventually, went down this path of becoming like a hardline leftist, you would still be thinking that both sides were retarded and your vote didn't matter, Like, from my perspective, I cannot convince myself that Trump being president is worse than Hillary would have been. I could say, like, in the next election, I'd probably vote against Trump if anybody who I thought was good was running, Like, I would say, oh, this time it matters,
I think listen, I hate Joe Biden with all my heart, but I'll vote for him if it's him versus Trump. I will suck that up.
I don't see, like, from my perspective, I don't hate Trump nearly enough to give a fuck about that. Like, I hate.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk
people...
about that? Because Trump is a fucking nightmare and he's embarrassing. I mean, first and foremost, he's just embarrassing.
Okay, first of all, think about who you're talking to here and think about how much I care if he's embarrassing.
All right, cool. Hey, remember that time that Trump said that we should, like, deport people that burn the flag? You think that's something an American president should say?
Very retarded, but it didn't happen.
But he said it.
So people say shit all the time.
He believes that. That's what goes on in his head. He's like, burning the flag is un-American. Let's talk about deporting them. I know he didn't literally do it, but like, just the fact that he even said it is like unthinkable. That's like an unthinkably un-American position.
It's very, very fucking retarded, and I would speak out against him saying that.
Yeah,
I would Trump,
I would fucking vote for someone
idiot.
who isn't awful like that. I mean, say what you want about Biden. I know I will. I don't think Biden would talk about deporting people that burn the flag because that's a fucking psycho shit.
It is psycho shit. I just don't. It didn't happen though. Like, he didn't deport anybody.
Good.
Good.
Like, wait. What about all the Jews Hitler didn't gas? But
he did gas a lot of Jews.
Okay,
like,
you could make that same argument for like literally anything, like anything that.
Yeah,
okay,
I would make that same argument. I care about what they do, not what they say. Like, I don't care about what people say. They're like what they think. I care about what they do. The president did not deport. If Donald Trump had deported people for burning the flag, I would be fucking out there with anti-Trump signs right now. But that didn't happen.
Okay.
And I think he talks a lot of shit to obfuscate. I think a lot of it is play. I think a lot of it is he's trying to fuck with people and keep their minds off of whatever he doesn't want their minds on, and just keep people running around in a fucking rat race for his whole presidency, being pissed off while he just does whatever he's doing.
And is that cool? Do you like
that?
No,
it's not cool, but I don't expect anything different from the other side. Like, look at the shit that Hillary says on Twitter. It's fucking daft, crazy shit,
What does Hillary say on Twitter?
Just recently accusing Tulsi Gabbard of being a Russian agent or whatever.
Okay.
Which everybody has come out against that statement, including Bernie. Because it's ridiculous. Because if she was compromised by Russia, there would need to be a fucking investigation, considering she's a fucking military officer. It's just like they say dumb shit. These people are fucking all these rich fucking old boomers in charge. They're all crazy as fuck, and I really want them all to die. I was thinking about tweeting this as well. Can we please stop advancing medical technology for like 10 years, let all these people die, and then bring it back? Can we institute a no presidents over 70 policy or something?
I wish I didn't agree with you. I really do. But there's a strain of old guy like Bernie who is like an old-time socialist who fucking fought for desegregation. It's literally epic. Bernie's literally one of the good ones.
I like Bernie as a guy. I think he's cool. I think he would be I wouldn't hate having Bernie Sanders as president, but it's like I really feel this sickness in the idea that like I have to root for Bernie because Yang is too much of a long shot when I think Yang's policies are better. It's like whoever has the best policy should be who I'm backing, and I think it's real like I understand that you have contentions. You don't necessarily think Yang's better than Bernie. I think Yang is better than Bernie, and to me, it would be like an act of huge cowardice to back off of that platform because I don't think it can win.
I mean,
when like the only way it would win is if more people believed in it. Well, so it's like I should be out there screaming about Yang.
Here's what I don't understand. Okay, now, and this is a hypothetical, but let's say it came down to, it's like you get to the fucking, it's when do we vote? Like, no, I don't.
November.
Okay, it's next November, right? We're looking at the polls, right? You got Biden, you got Bernie, polling like 50 and 49%.
Oh wait, are you talking about you talking about the primary?
I'm talking about the primary.
Okay, I think that's sooner. I don't know when it is. I need to fucking find that out because I have to register as a Democrat if I even want to vote in it.
It doesn't matter. The point is, you get to the primary and you're looking at the polls, and it's Biden 50, Bernie 49, Yang 1, right? I mean, I assume you prefer Bernie to Biden, right? If Bernie, if Yang is
Biden.
Look, I mean, if the polls
although now Yang is talking about how he would be Biden's VP if asked. That's something he's talking about. So if that happened, I don't know who the fuck I'm voting for.
Oh God. Okay, fine. That fucking
Biden
sucks.
is like
that fucking
78.
Sucks.
He's probably even closer to death than Bernie is. That's another thing. Like, I know you don't care that much about whether or not Bernie dies, but like, I do think there's a good chance that these guys will die.
Sure,
either of them.
Sure, it could happen. But like, so what? Like, what? Okay, if we agree, and I know you don't agree, but if you were to agree that Bernie is a good candidate and we get him in office and he dies, like. Okay, that's sad. We had a good president for a while, and now we've got his VP, who is hopefully not significantly
I mean, I need
worse.
to find out who the VP is. Like, let's say if Bernie takes Yang as his VP, obviously I'm voting for Bernie. Like, there's no question. It's just like, oh yeah, instantly, you've got it.
That would be that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Full steam. By the way. I doubt it'll happen. I imagine that at some point either Bernie or Warren will drop out and maybe one will become the other's VP nominee. I don't know.
I could see. And like here's another thing. I don't completely hate Biden or Warren or like I obviously don't hate Bernie, but like I've watched all these debates and I've never fucking watched a debate before this election.
The debates are awful. I hate them.
They're terrible. But like listening to these people talk, like I have a tendency to focus more on the way people talk than what they're saying, just because I think it tells you more about them. Like what they're saying is ephemeral. It's ideas, it's things that they're saying they want to do. How they talk is like how you get an insight into what they really are about. And I think most of the Democratic candidates are puppets for the Democratic Party. Like they
you know who isn't? Bernie.
Bernie is one of the only ones who is definitely a lot less of a puppet, and everyone
else just adopted Bernie's like stances. Everyone else just adopted Medicare for all because Bernie pushed it, and now it's coming to the mainstream. And now Warren's fucking riding on it, and the media attributes it to her like it was her fucking idea. I mean, I'm sure Bernie didn't come up with the idea for whole cloth, but like he was pushing it way before. Okay, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I look at Biden and I say, okay, well, this is basically just voting for the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And I don't like the Democratic Party. I also don't like the Republican Party. And funnily enough, one of the reasons I don't hate Trump as much is that he's kind of not like a Republican guy, you know? Like the Republicans fucking hate him, you know? Like the party itself hates him because he doesn't toe the party line. And that's a big part of why like libertarians and people voted for him, because they just saw him as like, oh, well, one is to vote for Hillary is to vote for political establishment.
And Sheepover is also in chat. Dab. Sorry.
To vote for Hillary is to vote for political establishment. To vote for Trump is to, on some small level, vote against it, is the way that people thought of it. And I think that's the biggest reason he won. Yeah. I think that in the next race, it's if Warren or Biden were picked, it's going to be political establishment versus Trump, you know? And I think Trump will win that.
Favorite Centaur
like,
Mo says, "Look at how Trump governs. He passes the tax cuts, which basically is the party line." Like, I think functionally speaking, Trump's policies are generally fairly in line with what you would expect a Republican.
Yeah, no, they're not like outrageous.
Yeah.
Like I said, marginally not. Like, it's more symbolic. It's more about like the reason people voted for him is what they thought he represented. Is like,
yeah.
oh, we're going to get away from these political establishments. And when you look at someone like Biden,
he was gonna drain the swamp. He was the chosen one.
You were the chosen one. And like, even a lot of people who voted for Trump are disappointed with him. You know, like if you listen to like Dick Masterson or Razor Fist or something, they're not like, oh, they're saying we didn't get everything we wanted. You know, like we didn't get
Did Dick Masterson vote for Trump?
Of course.
Disappointing.
It was a huge. I mean, it's the first time he ever voted. It was a huge meme. He's voting in California, mind you, where it literally doesn't matter.
Jesus. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, like, you know, those guys had something that they wanted him to do, that they thought that getting away from the political establishment was going to promote some kind of change. And it did promote some change on some levels.
It sure
not the
did.
way that people wanted.
It was fucking epic, dude. These last 4 years have been literally epic.
These last 4 years have been the best 4 years of my fucking life.
Well,
fuck
you.
Complaints.
I don't give a shit about that. I literally could not give less of a shit about that. And that has like nothing to do with policy.
No,
it's totally irrelevant.
I'm just saying, I don't feel fucked the last 4 years. You know?
I don't care about you. I'm sorry, but like you're not someone who I'm worried about. Like you're not someone who needs Medicare for all. You're not someone who needs the minimum wage raised. You're not someone who I don't know is going to get deported or put in a fucking his fucking kids in cages or whatever the fuck. All right, Ben, I'm not worried about you.
Ben.
Yeah,
right.
buddy.
Chill. I wasn't defending the
chill!
I wasn't defending
Moderation time. Bing, bing, bing.
Okay. Hi, Hippo. I'm glad I summoned you back.
Don't think you can do that all the time.
Okay.
I was in no way trying to like defend anything that has happened. I'm just saying, you said fuck the last 4 years or something like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine with the last 4 years. Like, that's,
I don't care.
We have a contentious.
Listen,
I don't care about your opinion of fuck the last 4 years. That's what I'm trying to say. Neither of us cares how it means for one another.
It's okay. I don't care for the last 4 years, and it's not because like, oh, I didn't prosper enough. It's not really about like how I did, because like
I never said it was about how I did.
Okay, well, what are you saying then?
I'm just saying that, like, in the same sense that the last 4 years for you looked like, oh, this was really bad. For me, looked like I don't give a shit at all. Nothing that has happened has been, like, to me, worse than what was going on before, you know? Like, I think of the Trump administration, and some bad things have happened. I think of the Obama administration and some bad things happened. I think of the Bush administration and a lot of fucking bad things happened, you know? And I just think, okay, it's another one. It's another shitty administration, just like all the ones I grew up with. Like, this doesn't seem like a massively worse America I'm living in, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I guess these things are subjective. It seems like, worse to me.
Do you think Trump presidency has been worse than the Bush presidency?
Oh god. Well, I feel worse about it. I don't.
Is
really
that
know.
just because you're like older and have more perspective?
I mean, that I do think that probably is part of it. Yeah. I don't know how I would go about quantifying badness in like a.
It's just like when the stuff that I remember, like, you know, my parents, very hardline liberals, very much political.
Yeah.
I grew up in a extremely democratic household, and my opinion of Republicans growing up was, oh, those people are retarded. Like, that's the way that they're pitched, you know, like they're just retarded.
Yeah.
And like when I was growing up in the Bush era, it was all
wisdom from the mouths of babes. Okay.
Yeah. Like in the Bush administration, I remember constantly hearing about all of the bad things that were happening. And now in the Trump administration, everything that happens has a big frenzy around it. And it just doesn't seem like the stuff happening now is as bad as the stuff that was happening then. It's just having a bigger deal made out of it because of social media. and because Trump says retarded shit.
I mean,
if you peeled back all the
Bush started the war on terror. That was bad, and that's still going on. So
yes,
I mean, I
and
I feel like this is an
arguably Trump could
impossible
be said to have
question.
taken steps to make it less bad.
Yeah,
arguably
we could have.
So
like, I know Obama was not good on this front. Obama did a lot of like
none of them have
military
been good.
action. Yes,
Which is why, and I don't know if you know why this is, because a lot of leftists seem to really hate Tulsi for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but she is very against the war. Like, her whole platform is, I want to stop endless war. Which is
you
makes
mean
me laugh every time.
Do you mean a free text-based Discord RPG playable entirely on your browser?
Do you laugh every time you hear it too?
Yes.
Like, people keep saying we have to put a stop to endless war.
There was a Trump made a tweet that was like, we have to put an end to the endless war, and I fucking retweeted it like, have you no shame, sir?
Yeah. But,
like no, that's my favorite thing.
Like, for me,
all politicians are bad because they want to put an end to endless war.
Yeah, like, to quote a lyric,
I feel like there's probably a lot of people in chat who don't know what we're talking about.
No. I don't know, it's your fucking channel. Isn't this whole channel about endless war? Wouldn't people here know it?
No, that's a separate channel.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway,
I don't think you could be a Ben Saint fan and not know what the fuck endless war is.
There's a lot of people that came in here just for you, dog.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'm flattered.
Yes.
I'm sure there's been a nonstop roast in the comments of everything I've said.
It's gone. Yeah, but like, I've been getting some of it too. So, whatever.
Well, I wrote this lyric in a song I wrote last year where I said, when I was a kid, a Democrat meant anti-war, progressive meant free speech was pure. And like, that was what it meant to me back then, was like, the Democratic Party was the people who were non-religious, who were about like basically open rights to free speech, open like, stop the fucking war, no more war in Iraq. Mm-hmm. And then we had a Democratic president for 8 years, and we stayed at war. Yes. And somehow free speech came further and further under fire over time, not because of the government necessarily, but just like fewer and fewer people. Like, somehow the Democratic.
What do you mean by that? In what way did free speech come further and further under fire under
like
Obama?
Just that it has increasingly become the position of like left-leaning Democratic people to be the language police. Like,
that's not a policy issue.
No, it's not a policy issue. I'm just saying that it's more about the social implication of choosing a side. Like, I think this is a huge problem for the left. It's a huge image issue that they have, is that the left currently comes off as the anti-free speech party, and that is radicalizing more people to join the right than anything else, by far. If you talk to a 17-year-old kid,
I'm with you, and I hate it.
If you talk to a 17-year-old kid who's not religious, who backs the conservatives, it's because libcucks told him what to say. And when I was a kid, a Democrat was somebody who believed in protecting free speech.
It is
so,
because,
like,
yeah.
And stuff like that is why when you say something like, if you're not a leftist, you're on the right. It's like, well,
Are you saying that I'm contributing to the image problem?
I think, well, it's not that you're contributing to the image problem. It's that the image problem is why a statement like that is, like, if you came out and said that exact same statement and leftist only meant economics, I would probably agree with you. And like, it should the
so
actual phrase leftist.
Would you describe yourself as being economically on the left? That's a question.
I basically am just in favor of exactly. Okay, here's the thing. I don't like to think about like the broad ideological spectrum. That's how I used to be. Like, it used to be, if you talk to me about politics, all I would talk about is broad ideological concepts that don't have immediate like practice in our society. And like, Devu used to always complain about that. He'd be like, you always open everything up to this broad lens, but we can't act towards that, So like if we're talking about like what I believe like ideologically, like what I would want the world to be, I would probably say I was anarchical, you know? Like I just want everybody to live by themselves and not fuck with each other basically, you know?
Yeah.
And do whatever you want. But
Oh,
like
but like, okay, you can say that, but then like that's like the base level is like, oh, everyone should be free, everyone should be,
yeah.
but then you go one level deeper and suddenly the divide starts to, it's like then you ask, well,
Exactly.
how do we make that happen, and that's when the
Right.
differences start.
That's why I don't like to think about it in terms of like what is my actual ideology. I want to think about it in terms of like what do I think we should do right now? And like
Yeah,
what I think
but
we should do
but that's
right
an
now.
ideological question. Is, well, what should we
Right.
do to achieve perfect freedom and justice?
I don't think we're going to achieve that. I'm talking about just moving
No, but
things
we
in a
should try
better
to.
direction,
I
you
mean, the
know?
goal should be to approximate it as closely as possible, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, right now, obviously my position is hashtag gang gang. Like I'm all about his policies, everything he wants to do. I mean, I don't leave out the foreign policy stuff because I don't really know his exact positions on things.
Yang really likes Israel. I think Yang's pretty into
I
Israel.
literally don't know fucking anything about Israel, and I don't ever want to know.
It's bad. Israel's
Yeah.
bad.
I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. I care about what's going on in America, and I think like fixing America. I think Yang's policies are exactly what we need. Like I think UBI is exactly what we need in the short term. You
Here's
know.
okay. Now, I've already established that I'm not against UBI, and my main problem, the main reason I won't vote for Yang is that I don't think he's a superior candidate to Bernie, and I also don't think he's going to win because he just doesn't have the polling numbers. So, oh, that's fine. Oh God, where was I going with that? Okay. The reason I think okay, even though I do like UBI, the reason I'm like preferable to Bernie is because I just think that ideologically he is like the fact that Bernie like hates uh corporations and like big businesses and stuff, whereas Yang just seems like he doesn't mind those things so much. I know that's not policy. I know that's not policy per se, but that's ideology, and I just feel like Bernie's ideology is better.
I mean, his plan ultimately is meant to affect Amazon the most. Like, the idea of the value-added tax is meant to be that, like, yes, it does raise taxes for everybody, and I understand why people consider that a problem.
Yeah.
I think that the amount of spending that you do as an individual is just so much less. Like, adding, let's say,
You're talking about
dollars,
me specifically, or
any of us, like,
okay,
the amount of spending that we do as individuals, like, let's say I probably buy like 2 things every day, right? And let's say that everything I buy goes up
Bull
by
beats. Yang does not hate big business. Yang does not hate big business. Come on. Sorry, responding to chat.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to get out my calculator. Here we go. All right, so let's say that I buy 2 things every day. Those 2 things go up by 10 cents. And so in the span of a month, I'll be spending an extra 600 cents. So that's $6. A business like Amazon makes like thousands of purchases a day. So
Yeah,
like it's going to hit
I
them
know.
ultimately way harder. And
I understand that,
the
and it's
theory.
true. It's true that it's true. Yeah, like I do think that the VAT does, you know, like the more you're buying, the more you're vatting, right? So it's not a progressive tax per se. It's like closer to a flat tax. Like, yeah, obviously people who have more spending power and are making more purchases are going to be paying more into the VAT. The VAT.
And it would also just make it much more difficult for those big corporations to even operate, because like the reason Amazon can make such an insane amount of money is that they can make things so cheap for themselves to operate, that they can automate so much of it, that they can, you know, just throw around like they can operate at a loss in order to have a future greater gain. And it's just like, if we took away, like if we implemented a tax that they couldn't get around, that you know, that prevented them from doing that kind of business, they're just gonna shrink. And when they shrink, that means that more people have more opportunities to to take back the spots that they had taken from them. It just all of it. Like, I just think that promoting competition is the most important thing economically. I guess I'll say that. That's overall my stance is we need as much pro competition policy as possible, because I think that, when we say things like let the free market decide, I think it's an irresponsible thing to say, like, oh no, like, I'm definitely not an anarcho-capitalist, because it's obvious that most people are don't have the information or the ability to spend their money in a way that would help themselves. Like, if you live in the ghetto and all that's around you is like the cheapest, shittiest grocery stores and fast food, you can't just like go to a better grocery store and spend a little bit more money to help your health and benefit you in all these other ways. Like, there's no way to get there. It's just not feasible. There's not enough there needs to be some regulation and some ideas. And I even think stuff like in Boston, I don't know if this is exactly true, but it seems like in Boston, all of the big businesses are forced into being in designated shopping centers, which is a very powerful effect it has on your life if you live there. Particularly for me living in the town of Braintree, there was no chains in Braintree except for Dunkin', which I hate. But like, there's no chains there. You have to drive. Braintree's a very small town, land size wise. You have to drive out of town into Quincy if you want to go to any kind of chain store, except that in the northern part of Braintree, there's this one huge mall and shopping center, and all of the chains, all the major stuff is there. So that means that throughout the town, small businesses can thrive on every single street corner, because it's way more convenient to go to the local mom and pop convenience store than it is to drive all the way out to fucking Walmart. And so, like, I spent money at small businesses constantly. This is the kind of regulation that is pro competition. Here in Virginia Beach, it took a long time for Walmart to even be able to put up multiple stores in the town, because they were trying to prevent, they were trying to keep that true here as well. Like, there's lots of things we can do that can help to spice up competition, and I just think we need to be thinking about it in like as much of a holistic sense as possible and trying to make those things realities.
Okay, so when you say we should encourage competition, what you mean is that we should limit the ability of like a big business to undercut small business.
Yes, that's what I would say. We should limit their ability to and I do think that, like, I think on some level, like, stuff like, raising minimum wage is a way that big businesses might end up undercutting small businesses. And it's not even that I'm opposed to doing it. I'm just worried that it will not promote competition, or that if we're going to do it, we need to also have policies in place that, protect those smaller businesses.
Wouldn't raising the minimum wage, wouldn't that have the biggest effect on the companies that employ the most people, like Amazon? Like, doesn't Amazon have like billions of employees, like, and suddenly all of them are required to be paid like,
you have
way
to
more
think
than
of
what
it
they're
this
making
way.
right now?
First of all, those companies can afford to operate at a loss for a long period of time in service of whatever they're trying to do. Let's say that Amazon were to run out all the small businesses. I mean, they already, like, for instance, bookstores. Bookstores are dead because Amazon killed them. So Amazon undercuts all these bookstores, and they don't need their employees because they can just, they don't. I guess they at best need them to be more drivers.
647,000 Amazon employees.
Yeah, they're going to take those people and they're either going to put them in their factories or they're going to put them on their trucks, but they are also currently automating their truck drivers, their services. So, like, they're just not going to need these people. These people are going to lose a job, and they're not going to have an alternative at Amazon.
They will still need some people. Like, some people will lose their jobs to automation.
Like, the amount of jobs that there are if there's a bookstore in every city versus the amount of jobs there are if only Amazon is selling books is just a massive difference in how many jobs there are,
So you're saying that smaller businesses won't be able to automate, and therefore more people will be employed because, like, if there's more competition?
Yes.
Well, don't you think that automation is Yang talks about this, like, automation should be good, Like it
Yes,
should be something.
that's why he's
Yeah.
pro UBI, because he's
Yeah.
like, we're not trying to stop the progress of all this. We're just trying to
Yeah,
make it so
we
people
want.
can still have a fucking something to do, like still
Yeah,
have money
we
when they take away all our jobs with this shit. You know?
this is fucking lefty 101. This is Kropotkin, right? It's like you know, automation and, you know, increased productivity, increased efficiency in our methods of production should create more wealth for everyone, right? And
Yes.
like this, okay, I'll go on a little bit of a spiel here. Like the fact that like a company like Amazon, right? It's built, yeah, Jeff Bezos fucking built it and marketed it and whatever, but it is created out of technologies that were like publicly funded. Like Jeff Bezos did not himself come along out of a vacuum with some sort of like miraculous technology that made Amazon possible. It was built on the shoulders of giants, and he just commodified it in a way that ended up being really successful, dominated the market, made $100 gazillion. And now he's going to automate they're going to automate the company so that they can share as little of that as possible with as few workers as possible. They want to keep the minimum wage as low as possible so that they don't have to give it any of it back. Right? This is what capital does. It accumulates itself. And something like automation, in a case like this, since it's not like your argument for ownership, like that Jeff Bezos like deserves to own all of it, is like so fucking paper thin, right? Like this is technology that like our society generated and one guy just happened to commodify. And so it really should be the case that increased efficiency of being able to order stuff online, you know, the fact that we can reduce the labor necessary in delivering those products through like automated truck drivers and drones and whatever, like all of this should, there's no ethical argument for why like Jeff Bezos should profit all of this, and everyone else just gets like less and less and less of it, right, as they consolidate more and more. So yes, in that sense, UBI is right on the money in that the idea should be that, okay, no, all of us should benefit from it, right? The money should be distributed to society because it was society as a whole that generated all this, right? Okay, I feel like I'm repeating myself now, so I'll cut it short there. But like, yeah, in theory, I like that about UBI. I think that I feel like there's got to be a better way to like what if I think people have talked about like just directly taxing automation, right? Like just like
See, and Jane talked about that a lot in his book, that the problem is just how the fuck do you define it? Like, there, you know, the differences between different pieces of technology are not so obvious and not so clearly defined. You know, like if we tried to draw a line anywhere, it's gonna cause a lot of weird shit, you know. And like he gives a bunch of examples of places where it's like, well, if we draw the line here, this will be considered automation, and you're like, oh, well, that's obviously not gonna work, you know. It's just like it would be very difficult, and it would be very easy to circumvent by the companies by just, you know, oh, so if it has this property, then it's considered an automaton. Oh, we'll just leave that property out and do it this way instead. You know, like it's, I think the reason that he wants the VAT tax is that it's very hard to avoid. It's like every time you make a purchase, you're getting taxed on it. How the fuck do you dodge that, you know? And I would also say it would probably be a good idea to implement like stricter rules about buying things from overseas, you know, just be like hey, you're not allowed to buy this mass produced product from China, you know. Granted, a lot of people have argued that you know, those jobs make things better in those countries, but I also don't know if it's in our best interest to make things better for China on the whole. Like it's good to help their citizens, but I don't know if that playing into the regime itself having more power is a good thing, you know. And maybe they, like, how easy would it be for us to force them to change by just taking away all the shit we give them, you know? It's like, hey, we're closing trade routes unless you fucking stop putting Uyghurs in concentration camps, you know, something like that.
What's a Uyghur?
The Uyghurs are a people in China who are currently being kept in concentration camps en masse.
Oh, neat.
A minority. I highly recommend this channel called China Uncensored, and it's just like constant videos about how fucked China is, and it's a lot. China's got a lot of fucking problems.
Yeah. There's what do you think about the idea that like global capitalism, right? Like and I've heard Destiny talk about this, that like global, like the fact that we're losing jobs to like another country is not like a flaw. And Vosh has complained about like Bernie wanting to like bring jobs back to America, because it's like those jobs are gone, and like we, under capitalism, we lost them to like a more efficient society that was able to do them more efficiently. So we shouldn't be trying to like bring them back. We should just be focusing on what we can produce more efficiently than other countries, which I guess increasingly is we're switching to a service based economy,
I mean,
whatever
look, the
that
fact of the
means.
matter is, the reason that China can be more efficient is that they have dehumanizing conditions. Like, their
Mm.
workers are not living up to our standards. And it might be that it's better than what they would have otherwise, but, like, is that what we're defending? You know, like, yeah, bring it back to America and, like, make it. Like, it's just like we don't need to rely on China to produce this stuff. That is that's just the way that
I
like, let's
think
say, yeah.
I think that any argument you could get, okay, like I know that, I say that I know, really I just have the general sense from what I see on social media that like working conditions and just conditions for laborers and the people in China are worse than in America. And
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, I guess I see the idea that like we shouldn't support a country that encourages such like such bad conditions for its workers. I guess I see that as basically an extension of the same arguments that we should be like raising minimum wage here.
Yeah.
Like obviously like there's like a difference in scale here. Like one is already, I don't know, like I just really want to fucking acquire more bargaining power for labor, and
Yeah.
that's what I want.
I mean, I think
That's what
we
I want.
definitely agree on that. I think
Yeah.
that the bargaining power of labor is extremely important, and, like, to me, like I've said before, I consider myself ultimately in favor, like ideologically in favor of capitalism, but only if it was a form of capitalism where everybody knew what they were doing. You know, like currently
You
the
mean like
entire
a perfectly objective, like everyone's making perfectly objective purchasing decisions?
yes, like that.
Yeah,
Like
well,
that's because if that was the case, it would work just fine because
probably.
the only people who make money are people who make good decisions, you know, that benefit people. It's like, but it's in all of these corporations' interest to obfuscate what they're doing as much as possible, to get away with as much evil as they can
Yep.
and hide it as much as possible. And it's
Yep.
just like, um,
Global warming.
and it's also in the government's best interest to protect the interests of those companies. Like if the government was something I could believe in at all, they would just be keeping tabs on everything and releasing all the information to the public. Like if you're trustworthy, you've got nothing to hide. But of course you're not trustworthy. So, you know, it's like it's very hard for me to have any kind of faith in our government, you know,
Mhm.
to do anything at all.
I guess I would say, yeah, I know people don't trust the government, and I get that. Um I think that the all right, people don't like deprivatization because it's like, oh, putting things in the hands of the government, and I don't trust
Mhm.
the government. Fair enough. But like the thing about that is that the government, for all its faults, it at least has some level of like democracy going on in its decision making process, whereas like a privately owned company is like basically a dictatorship unto itself that is like can be regulated by the government, but like from the outside.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, yeah, like obviously we would want to
I mean,
improve,
I
yeah,
personally I think that
yeah.
our government is on some level a dictatorship being run by those companies.
Yeah. I mean, true, because
That's why like
they have
that's why
so
like
much
at the end of the
capital and they
day,
have so much power to influence policy
at the
that,
end of the day what we all really need to do is join hands and link together and eat the rich. It's like that
yeah, okay, all
it's the
right,
only real solution, you know, like it like we can talk about
yeah,
nudging things in one direction or the other, but like, you know, if you actually want to like, you know, overthrow the oligarchical structure that's ruling us. We just gotta fucking kill them and eat them.
This is what I say about well, I didn't make this up, but like, you got America, right? And America is a democracy, more or less. It has democratic elements to it, and it's capitalist, right? And like,
Yeah.
I've heard I think in one of his videos, Innuendo Studios talked about how like the difference between a liberal or a left leaning person and a conservative is that when push comes to shove and you have to make a decision, a conservative sides with capitalism and a liberal or a progressive sides with democracy. And the thing about capitalism is that it is you say you're going to vote with your wallet, right? In the marketplace, in the free market, you vote with your wallet. And under capitalism, it's not a democracy because whoever's got the most money has the most votes. And
Yeah.
I don't care for it personally. I'm against it. It's bad. Okay, that's my spiel about that.
Yeah, I think we understand each other pretty well. I mean, I really look
I do
at
think so. I feel like the more when we I think we get it's Flugmorph. Thanks for the sub. Dab 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 dab. On Twitter, things got pretty acrimonious on Twitter, and I think it's unfortunate because talking to you here, I feel like we have more in common than it sounded
I look at
like.
you and I as a split hair.
Yeah.
We're the same hair. It's just been split in half, you know?
I think.
And like the differences are the reason that I think a big part of why a lot of people get so frustrated, especially with your politics,
Yeah.
is that you are very hard line on your own position.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are very close to your position, but see certain things differently. And so when you come extremely hard line on your position, like if you don't agree with exactly this, you're retarded. Those people are like, oh, so you're saying I'm retarded even though I agree with you on 90% of everything, you know, like, and that's kind of where I was coming from with my tweet. It's like because I just yesterday was talking about how I have a huge problem with the left-right dichotomy and the idea of centrist and how it pushes out the ability for there to be a third party. How like we literally have like brainwashed ourselves into thinking we can't have a third party, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, in America it's true, and like the hegemony of Ephraim. Thanks for 1,000 bits. The hegemony of like the Democrats and the Republicans is basically disastrous because we genuinely.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I feel like some people don't understand that what I'm talking about when I talk about this because a lot of people are conditioned to think, oh, Democrats left, Republicans right. And I don't think that's true anymore. The Democratic Party is very much centrist in most ways. And so we genuinely don't have a left-leaning party in America.
Yeah,
and it's very disappointing to me.
I think it would be very helpful for all of us if we can, as much as possible, and I know it's not completely possible, especially on Twitter, but as much as possible to de-emphasize using these terms and emphasize just saying what we mean. Like instead of saying left versus right, like say economic left versus right, which is a very clear thing. Like we all know what that is. We know like that's a spectrum that's easy to I mean maybe we don't all know exactly what it is, but like you know, if you say anybody who's not economically left is you know, implicitly
is economically
in favor of the right. It's a little bit more easy to swallow than just left versus right, because left versus right takes on all these other connotations, particularly depending on where you happen to live.
I mean, it is kind of unfortunate that like when you say the left, there's like, you know, there's
I mean, literally,
there's socialists and there's anarchists and there's
in a lot of the circles that I run with,
whatever.
The main way that the left gets brought up is in reference to identity politics, which is not in any way a fucking like economic thing at all.
Like,
you know?
let me. I was gonna bring this up. It's like we've talked about economic left versus right, and I guess we could talk about like cultural and societal left versus right. I mean, I am basically a fully like identity politics leftoid, And I think it's literally epic. And I get and I guess it is unfortunate that you can't, that when you when you say leftism, that you like you could which one is he talking about, because they are on two different axes, and you
all I really want to say about the identity politics, I don't want to go down this road, I've had this conversation too many times, is
okay.
having an identity at all is a deep flaw, and you should not do that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we would all shed our mortal shackles if we could. Yeah. It's not that easy though.
Let's all become beings of pure energy.
Sure, yeah. No, sign me up. And then we can all become beings of pure energy and then I don't know, something about automation. We can just automate the process and like redistribute the wealth equally among all of us. Fucking hell, man.
I'll rephrase that because I know it was fucking madly confusing, and I know people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
Okay.
Let me say, you are whatever you're doing in the moment, and the sum total of things you've done. That's the only identity that is real.
What you
have done and what you are doing.
Okay.
And what you think is ephemeral, and like what you believe, what your thoughts on things are.
What about?
Speaking on your beliefs is an action. And you could be defined as the person who said this and that, but it doesn't make you that thing. It doesn't like saying, like, if I go around and I talk about socialist talking points all day, it doesn't mean that I am now a socialist, because I could completely change that. I could go in a different direction. It is not a description of me.
When you talk about identity, I mean, are you talking about something like being black? Like, does that count?
I think that being black is, like, just being black is
you can't
really
opt out
fact
of that
about
one.
you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that implies an like anything other than just the fact you're black. Like, in a social paradigm,
well,
it
like
causes
ideologically.
all kinds of things.
Yeah,
it's just like I don't know if you should identify, like, if you are black, like,
yeah.
and you say I identify as being black, I think that's perfectly rational, as you are in fact black.
I think so.
But there should be no connotation beyond that,
well,
except for
be.
I think that there's
whatever
a
has transpired.
There's maybe a distinction between like a physical description and like an identity with a race, if you know what I mean.
I guess all I was going to say about that,
what you are, but like you can,
is like,
I guess it
depends on your nature,
black
your nurture.
does not automatically mean anything else.
Well,
it can mean a lot of things, and it most likely will mean a lot of things, but it doesn't automatically mean anything other than that.
I mean, you can be like, your interior mind can be whatever it is, right? Like, regardless of your race, but like, and like, you can have whatever ideology you want, and like, doesn't matter. But none of that would change like the material fact that, like, if you're black, you're more likely to get shot for committing the same crime if like a white person did it.
That's true within the paradigm of the
like,
society that we have.
This is yes.
But it's just not, like, it's not an inherent quality of being black. It's an inherent quality of our current society,
but it's a material reality.
Right.
And like, this is the kind of thing that I'm worried about in terms of like identity politics, and like the okay, let me fucking throw one out there. People saying like, oh, being trans is a mental illness and we should treat it as such. We shouldn't like get fucking we shouldn't feed their delusions or whatever. We shouldn't like encourage their transition. We should like, give them fucking whatever therapy. We should give them conversion therapy and talk them out of it or whatever. And like, and people argue this, like, oh, this really fucking pisses me off. People say, the suicide rate is higher among, trans people. This is like a sign that it's a mental illness. It's like, therefore we shouldn't encourage it. And it's
I'm
like,
pretty sure the suicide rate is higher because of the fact that our society completely rejects it on all levels, and you are most likely living as what's the word for somebody who's pariah if you
Yeah.
if you are trans.
Yeah, and like that. Okay, I guess we're on the same page, so I won't go on. But like that argument totally ignores the fact that like okay, but it's also kind of seems like the evidence points to that encouraging the transition and like treating fuck, I don't know how to phrase it, but helping people go through with the transition also lowers that suicide rate that you claim to be so worried about in this population of people. And I don't know, fuck you. Okay. Just this is a thing that I'm fucking pissed off about lately. Fucking true scum on Twitter.
The problem with being online is that you've got a ton of people who all have their own opinions and thoughts. Most of them are retarded, and they all decided to identify themselves as a part of a group. And so if somebody says, I'm right wing and here's what I think, and then you go, oh, these fucking right wingers. No, it's just that guy, and like that's why I'm really anti-label. I really don't think you should label yourself at all, and it's
okay.
Don't buy into it. Like, I guess I really hate when people try to classify you and say like, oh, you are right because you don't have this or this belief. And it's like, okay, well, if you lump me in with the right, that means that I'm lumped in with these motherfuckers and I don't agree with anything they think, So like, I don't force labels on people.
Nino makes a good point. Nino makes a good point. The thing is that quote unquote that guy got his ideas from a thought leader in the movement. Because there are
the thought leader in the movement himself is just saying I'm right wing, and then everybody who agrees with them is now right wing.
Well, it's funny because they don't, right? Because like Stefan Molyneux, white nationalist, swears up and down that he's not.
Is he a white nationalist?
Absolutely, he's a fucking
I've never
white
heard
nationalist.
that before. I don't know anything about
I
only remember when Dufu used to talk
Jordan
about him all the
Peterson, right? Like swears up and down that he's not a like misogynist. He fucking is one. Like people aren't like people just lie. Like
okay,
people
nobody's
people can
out
come
there
out with...
identifying themselves as hi, I'm a chauvinist and white nationalist. Like that's not a thing people do, for the most part.
Yes, but this is why. Okay, I think this is why these labels are kind of maybe more helpful than you give them credit for, because like people will be out there espousing what is like a full like they'll be out there espousing like full on like economic like conservatism or maybe or they fucking advocating for the ethno state or whatever the fuck, like or evangelical whatever, right? They'll be advocating for some position and denying it, and like people don't even admit it. So like you have to be able to like look at these people and like look at the things they're arguing and be like, okay, this person advocates this and this position. They're we need to be able to call them this thing even if they don't claim to be it.
I see what you mean. I just don't see the need. Why does it matter what you label them? Just attack their beliefs. Like, just attack them and their beliefs. It doesn't have to be that this guy is a right-winger because he thinks this, and this. It's just, this guy thinks this, and this. Let's put a stop to that, the spread of that. But as soon as you start calling it a thing that other people are grouped into, like, I mean, it's one thing to say, this guy's a white supremacist. Like, a white supremacist has a very clear definition. It's like, we all can agree what a white supremacist is, I think, on some, like, we might not agree who is a white supremacist because we might have different, ideas of like how to interpret something somebody said, but we all agree what it is. But like right wing, nobody agrees what that is. People within the right wing don't agree what it is, like two people who both consider themselves on the right might have almost none of the same ideologies. They just both are opposed to what they see as the left, which might not even be an accurate representation. It's just like, if the label doesn't have a clear definition, fuck that label,
I know what you mean, and I think to a certain degree you're right, but I think we should acknowledge that there are broad ideological like lines we can draw. And I think it's weird to like write off the whole concept. Like, all of language exists to like group objects together in a way that makes them more intelligible.
Language is inherently authoritarian and evil. all language inherently bad.
I guess
Flawed
are we
system.
well, we're engaging in it, right?
Yeah, it's
We're
fucking terrible.
we're engaging
How
in
can
it,
you
right?
live in capitalism and be anti-capitalist, man?
Yes, exactly. So you're saying that there's no ethical communication under
Yes,
language.
under language. That's
Okay.
fucking beautiful. I'm putting that on a t-shirt.
Good.
There is no ethical communication under language.
All right. Well,
I honestly do believe that.
we're stuck. We're stuck with it though.
It's hard to use language to describe why. You know,
we're
it's
stuck.
easier to use music.
Sure. We're stuck with it, and
Yeah.
this is how it works, and we have to be able to, identify patterns, categorize them, and assign labels to them. That's just what we're doing when we're
it's unfortunate, but we built everything we built on language. So ultimately, it's the lesser of two evils between having it and not I guess.
Having it. Yeah, exactly.
But I do wish we could acknowledge on some level the insane authority that language has in our society.
Well, this is like what the way this is why your word choice matters, and why using people's pronouns is a thing. This is the thing that I've been fucking battling on Twitter. People telling me why are you calling Chris a she? Don't you know
Chris is a she?
She's just faking it. No, Digi. Didn't you know that she's only doing it for attention? Didn't you know that in particular is just too stupid to be able to say something like that?
She's been keeping it up for a long
Like
time.
5 fucking years. Like 5 years she's been consistent. Right? If this was someone who was like flip-flopping and every other week was like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm back to being a girl. Oh no, I'm a guy again." I'd be like, "Okay, well, I don't expect anyone to like be up to date on this." But this is not new. This has been consistent for years. But people fucking true scum coming into my fucking threads being like, "Oh no. She doesn't have real dysphoria. It doesn't count." Fuck you.
How would they
bitch.
know? How would
I
they
don't
even
know. I don't know. They just want to believe so hard. They want.
I mean, Chris Chan has everything in common with every other trans person I know. Like,
I mean,
obsessed with My Little Pony, violently autistic.
Yeah,
you know, like these
exactly
tend to
tend to
crop up.
but like, I don't know. There's no. Okay, that's a whole other thing. I'm gonna make. By the way,
we gotta end this soon because I'm fucking getting hungry.
Are you getting hungry? I just want one more point about that.
We've been going for like 3 hours.
Have we?
Something
Awesome.
I don't know. It's been a long time.
I gotta make a video, right?
The sun is going down.
Because when I make Chris Chan Lecture 2, I'm gonna be using she, and people are gonna be confused. So I'm gonna have to make a separate video explaining why. I was trying to write the script for it yesterday, and it's fucking
you could
hard.
Just say it at the start of your second.
I would have to go on like a big fucking tangent in the lecture, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna make a separate video and be like, guys, I'm not going to talk. I don't want to talk about it in the lecture. Go watch that if you want to know why.
Yeah,
this is a thing.
Fair.
Yeah. Well, I think that you could be a good leftist if you followed some of your better ideas to their logical conclusions.
I think that I would be a lot more like susceptible to the left if it was purely an economic thing. And if the identity politics shit wasn't so wrapped up in the way the left communicates currently, particularly on Twitter, which is really before we even had this debate, we should have clarified, like, Twitter is its own world, and like all the politics happening on Twitter is really its own like micro society where politics is very heavily codified, and like the factions are all of them have names and they're all clearly evident, and it's not like that outside of the internet. It's not nearly so
on the
pronounced.
On the internet, you got enclaves, you got like ideological enclaves, right? Like you
you
got the YouTube algorithm. You got on the one side, you got the YouTube algorithm, siphoning you from Crowder to Molyneux to Shapiro to Peterson, right? And on the other side, you got
God, I've never seen any of that recommended to me at all.
If you start watching one, YouTube will
all I get.
lead you to the
one
others.
time I watched a Vouch video and all I got was Vouch recommendations until I fucking said, "Please don't show me this channel."
I love Vouch. I've gotten pretty into Vouch lately.
All of his fucking shit is like
Vosh.
2-hour live streams, though. I don't want to watch that shit. I don't care.
Know, I ran out of other shit to put on in the background, and I did it. I fucking did it. I went down the
Did
Vosh
you listen
hole.
to my light novel yet?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, you're saved today.
Cool. Okay. Okay. I know. I get frustrated. I get frustrated with your Yang worship. But I can't be too mad because, like, when I first
even though you're the one who introduced me to Yang,
yes,
your Yang
it was
worship.
Me. I did it. It
was me, Austin.
I heard.
It was me all along.
I heard about Yang. I heard about UBI. I was like, whoa, wealth redistribution, epic. And like, I still kind of feel that way. I haven't completely flipped on that or anything. And so, you know, I feel like we're. I don't know. It's reassuring. It's reassuring. You know, we were on Twitter and we're fucking flaming each other and saying "debate me, coward." You know, I don't know who said that. Somebody said that. I don't remember. It's all a blur.
I mean, it started with me calling you full retard. So
yeah, that's true.
But
that's
I
true.
mean, I don't really. All of this stuff is ephemeral. You didn't do anything. You just have opinions, and I have opinions, and neither of us has done anything. You could get mad at me after I vote, if I vote, but like, I mean, fucking, I actually am in a swing state, so you actually could get mad at me. But like, how mad are you really gonna be? You know, like, how mad am I really gonna be at somebody if they voted for the guy I didn't like? It's like, whatever. I don't give a shit. You know,
like,
it's not that big a deal. It's one thing if you're like. If you were,
there's worse crimes.
Like,
there's worse crimes in this world than voting for Yang. I think
there's a lot of people who have similar political ideologies to you who would not have been willing to have this conversation with me at all. They either would have said, "Digibro's a crypto fascist. I'm not. He should not be platformed. You shouldn't be having a discussion with him." You fucking, or they'd be yelling through the whole thing, and everything I disagreed with, they'd be laughing at and saying, "Oh, how can you not know this?" Like, you know, that's how a lot of the debate on the internet goes down. If you were like that, I would have a problem with you, not because of your politics, but because of your personality. But like, I see you as a guy who can have a political debate with somebody, and then we can go fucking play Pokemon. You know, like, it's not totalizing.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Cool. You know. I try to be cool. I like to get a little inflammatory on Twitter.
I mean, for fuck's sake, your own brother is like as opposed to you as it could be, and you argue all the time. You still do a show together. Like, it's not like
he's in the chat.
You know, right? It's like people act like we're all gonna go at each other's throats and stuff, and I'm like, the fact that you even think that is the problem. You know, like, that's the issue, is that we think it has to be that way. We think we have to be like at war with the other guys, and it's like, it's a war of ideas. It doesn't have to be a physical war. We can you know, love thy brother and still, you know, let's not do Civil War 2.0, please. A lot of fucking people died in that war.
As long as we all agree we need to eat the rich, I'll be okay.
I'm so hungry, man. I could eat the rich. Eat. I am actually hungry.
I was gonna say,
I think I'm gonna go eat some rich right now.
Please go eat some rich.
Yeah.
Dab. All right. Well, I'm glad.
You want to give and take the closing statement?
Definitely, 100%. I want to say I'm glad we did this, and it was fun, and it was cool, and
I knew this was gonna happen eventually. I was just waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting for the right Twitter argument.
Yeah.
Okay. That concludes the debate. Who won? Who lost? Who's gay? Vote now.
Give me a follow. Follow me on Twitch, everybody. It costs you nothing. Boost my SEO. Trying to make partner. Trying to make partner over here.
All right, I'm getting out of here. I'm fucking legit hungry as fuck.
All right, cool. See ya later, my dude.